Chapter 282. Han Fei didn't know what it was like to absorb the fish fire. He had devoted all the fish fire to the indestructible body and didn't dare to let it enter his body at all. 35X's Han Fei asked carefully, "Has it been consumed now?" Xia Xiaochan buried her head and shook her head again, hugging her knees. Han Fei took a deep breath. It seemed that he wouldn't have a chance to cultivate in the next few days. If he didn't consume the energy in Xia Xiaochan's body, the girl would go on a rampage at any moment. With her strength and destructive power as a peak-level great fishing master, he was willing to bet that nobody except himself and Lu Renkuang could resist Xia Xiaochan's peak outburst. Even Lu Renkuang couldn't resist it. Han Fei smiled helplessly. "Forget it. I'll practice with you for a few days. I'll just change my clothes." Xia Xiaochan seemed slightly relieved, but then she said in a low voice, "I haven't had an outburst in months. I really didn't feel anything when I was in the water." Han Fei was deep in thought. "Last time, you had an outburst because of the power of lightning, right? This time it's the fish fire. Do you think it's because you reject all other external forces?" Xia Xiaochan shook her head. "I don't know." Han Fei could tell that Xia Xiaochan was panicked. Han Fei was lost for words too. To be honest, he was slightly envious. He had a cheat, but in the end, the girl could crush him to the ground with a random force. It didn't feel good at all. Returning to the cave, Han Fei took out Sun Ye's sea-swallowing seashell and searched it. Wow! High-quality pearls? It was the first time that Han Fei had seen high-quality pearls. They were shining. They would be really beautiful as decorations. However, there were only 100 of them. 35XS. When he took them out and sensed them, he immediately noticed that they were different. The high-quality pearls contained spiritual energy. What a shame that they're not as abundant as low-quality spiritual stones. They must be advanced currencies. There was another boat in the sea-swallowing seashell, but it was not as good as the white boat. It seemed to be just a boat in the town. In terms of quality, it was much worse than the white boat. Han Fei didn't bother with it. Apart from the fishing boat on the side, there was a pile of mid-quality pearls, weapons, stones, and dead seafood. Spirit fish? Only then did Han Fei remember that there were still hundreds of phantom fish in Forge the Universe. Including the ones here, there would be thousands of them. However, to Han Fei's embarrassment, the phantom beads dug out by 1,000 phantom fish were only enough to enhance one person's perception. Luo Xiaobai had never encountered a tide of ghost fish, so she probably hadn't taken it. He wondered if anyone else had taken it. Forget it, let them divide it among themselves. Han Fei checked them one by one. Except for the spiritual longsword that Sun Yi used, the rest were all magic weapons. Among them, there were only 2 high-grade magic treasures, a staff and a spare longsword. Battle skills. Han Fei took out a demon-level high-quality combat skill, on which the ultimate swimming technique was written. Swimming skill? Han Fei was overjoyed. As a matter of fact, he had been planning to go to the library to look for a book on swimming. If he couldn't find it, he could ask Xia Xiaochan for the roaming technique. But now, it really didn't take any effort at all. The reason why he could catch up with Sun Yi was that Little Gold was fast. Without Little Gold, Han Fei wouldn't even be able to see Sun Ye's heels. After a moment, Shadow Swimming Art, remarks, someone learned the Spirit Fish Mystic Shadow Movement Technique from watching the Tide of Spirit Fish. It's the most elegant swimming technique. 35XS disadvantages. Because it has both movement technique and speed, it can't reach the peak. Deduced art, unknown deduction cost, 500,000. Han Fei frowned. The shadow swimming art was much better than the wandering dragon art. That was for sure. However, it didn't seem to have any special features except for its elegant posture when it was in use. He was wondering if he should continue deducing it. But when he saw the spiritual energy in Forge the Universe, he immediately gave up the idea. A demon-level, divine-quality swimming technique was enough for now. Now that he was already a peak-level great fishing master, he would need a lot of spiritual energy to deduce the void fishing art and the saber manipulation art. As for his current spiritual energy storage, he couldn't make unnecessary consumption anymore. Han Fei cleaned up Sun Ye's sea-swallowing seashell and replaced it with his own. Then he looked at the saber manipulation art. Recently, Xia Xiaochan was like a ticking time bomb. Damn it, I have to make use of this time to improve my combat skills and physique. It would be best if he could become a peak-level great fishing master. Otherwise, if he couldn't handle it, it would be a big problem. Han Fei calmed himself down and activated the saber manipulation art. Saber manipulation art, remarks, a transcendent saber manipulation art. The saber is filled with killing intent. When you comprehend the saber intent, you'll start to learn the basics of saber manipulation. When you master it, you'll become one with the saber. Perception, 76100 deduced art, unknown deduction cost, 0.20000000 inch deduce. After half an hour, a brand new combat skill appeared in Han Fei's mind. Saber scripture, remarks, a collection of hundreds of saber techniques and combat skills, including saber techniques, saber manipulation, saber intent, and saber realm. Deduction cost, 0.30000000. Han Fei took a deep breath. Heaven level, divine quality, continued deduction required 30 million points of spiritual energy. Even if he added up all the spiritual energy in Forge the Universe, it wouldn't be enough. However, this saber scripture was not simple. In his mind, countless pieces of information emerged. Han Fei found that the saber scripture was almost all about the difficulties and solutions encountered on the way to cultivating a saber. And there was only one page of combat skills. There was only one move on this page, which was called draw. Yes, draw the saber. Draw the saber? Han Fei was speechless. I spent 2 million points of spiritual energy just for a draw skill? The description of draw the saber was like this. The momentum of draw the saber is a combination of essence, chi, and spirit. When it moves, it's like a storm, and when it retracts, it's like a calm sea. In an instant, the enemy's head is cut off by the saber. Han Fei looked at this description helplessly. This thing was completely a killing technique and could only be used on enemies. If he were to use it on his own people, he might accidentally kill them. On the second day after they returned to school, Xia Xiaochan came to Han Fei again. The two of them battled on top of the mountain. This battle was earth-shattering. Mountain rocks tumbled down from the sky. Sometimes, there were even dragon roars. The moment the giant Xia Arowana appeared, no one could continue cultivating anymore. Luo Xiaobai and the others all went up the mountain. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were also curious. What happened on the mountain? Wenren Yu stood at the top of the mountain and asked again, why is it acting up again? Isn't Xiaochan already a peak-level great fishing master? Did something happen in the secret realm of the blazing mountain this time? Xiao Zhan also frowned and looked at Old Bai. President, is it possible that the Sun family played some dirty tricks? Old Bai shook his head. No, she improved too fast. At this moment, the energy within his body was exploding. What surprised me was if it was energy Bao. Why didn't it erupt when we were in the sea? Why did it only erupt when we got back to Levitating Island? Xiao Zhan, huh? Han Fei's knife skills seem to have improved a lot. What's going on? Hearing Xiao Zhan's words, the three of them noticed that Han Fei had been struggling to keep up with Xia Xiaochan at the beginning. But now, he could barely keep up with Xia Xiaochan's pace. How long did it take? At this moment, Han Fei looked extremely serious. He didn't fuse them but was practicing his knife skills according to the experience in the Saber Sutra. Not far away, Zhang Xuanyu and the others who had just climbed up suddenly frowned. Did Xia Xiaochan attack again? Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan turned pale. Spiritual energy was erupting in the knife and sword shadows, and waves of spiritual energy visible to the naked eye exploded in the air, spreading like ripples. Wherever the two fought, the place turned into ruins. The mountain rocks were shattering and the ground was sinking. Xia Xiaochan cut a mountain rock tens of meters in diameter into two halves, and the cut was as smooth as a mirror. And Han Fei followed Xia Xiaochan and split the mountain rock again. In the blink of an eye, the mountain rock was cut into countless pieces. Ling Yuan swallowed. Senior brother, do we need to fight to the death in training? Luo Xiaobai whispered, "Don't ask." Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan didn't know that there was something wrong with Xia Xiaochan. They just felt that Xia Xiaochan was too ruthless. Looking at the scene in front of them, it was impossible for the two of them to survive a casual slash. Chu Jinan swallowed the whole time. Ling Yuan was a little better than him. At least she was an armorist, so she could block them for a while. As a manipulator, if he encountered these two freaks, no amount of seaweed could help him. Zhang Xuanyu's face sank. "Fatty, can you still block them now?" Lu Renkuang shook his head helplessly. "No way. Don't you see the dozens of wounds on Han Fei's body?" Chapter 283. The battle went on, and Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan attacked more and more fiercely. 35xs the power inside Xia Xiaochan's body suddenly burst out, and the giant arowana appeared again. This time, it was different from the previous roar that sounded like a dragon's roar. This time, it actually fused directly. Holy shit! Han Fei's face changed greatly and he shouted, "Fuse! Attach! Bang!" This was the first time that everyone had seen Xia Xiaochan fuse with the giant arowana. Two swords, the show directly tore through the air, creating a terrifying blade aura. Even the 9-star chains were all knocked away. Xia Xiaochan flickered and appeared in front of Han Fei, shattering his spiritual energy protective cover and the clothes on his upper body with 2 slashes. In the blink of an eye, dozens of wounds appeared on Han Fei's perfect body. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. "Not good. Let's attack together." Han Fei retreated quickly and cast the divine healing technique on himself. At the same time he shouted, "Don't come any closer." Han Fei was gradually able to withstand the power of Little Black and Little White. Although there was still madness in his eyes, he had not lost his mind. At this moment, if Luo Xiaobai and the others came over, they would be sent to their deaths. On the top of the mountain, as soon as Wenren Yu stepped out, Han Fei suddenly shouted, "Attach!" Instantly, a pair of golden red wings appeared. Han Fei stepped into the air and flew into the sky. What kind of contractual spiritual beast is this? Old Bai, Wenren Yu, and Xiao Zhan were dumbfounded. Old Bai said, "Wait a minute. Let's wait and see." On the other side, Lu Renkuang exclaimed, Yes, I wanted to ask you before. I caught a glimpse of it last time. Could it be that you've caught a contractual spiritual beast?" Zhang Xuanyu had a strange expression on his face. "We can fly." On the side, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were stiff and their eyes almost popped out. "You're telling me this is a great fishing master? Which great fishing master is so ferocious? Which great fishing master could grow wings?" Han Fei stood in the air. However, to his bitter smile, Xia Xiaochan flashed and appeared in the sky. Ding ding ding. The wings blocked the attack and dazzling sparks shone in the air. The only advantage was that Xia Xiaochan couldn't fly. In the sky, he was far less agile than on the ground. While Xia Xiaochan was using the momentum of the attack, Qin Haodong froze in midair. Han Fei found an opportunity to bump his head into Xia Xiaochan's belly. Bang! A hole was smashed in the mountain, and Xia Xiaochan finally stopped. The giant arowana was also unattached and absorbed into Xia Xiaochan's body. Han Fei landed and sprinkled a beam of light over. After a long time, he heard Xia Xiaochan's soft voice. "Is your head a spiritual weapon?" Han Fei took a long breath in relief. "You're still naughty. It seems that you've made it." On the top of the mountain, Old Bai heaved a sigh of relief. "It's about time. It will probably be peaceful for a while." Wenren Yu and Xiao Zhan looked at Old Bai strangely. What did he mean by a period of peace? Xia Xiaochan couldn't go on like this. Old Bai explained, "As long as she gets stronger, the suppression will be stronger. At least for now. After all, there's still Han Fei to fight with her." Xiao Zhan asked, "What kind of power does she have?" Old Bai scoffed. "How should I know?" At this moment, Luo Xiaobai and the others ran over immediately. Covered in blood, Han Fei complained, "I can't take it anymore. I feel like I've been hollowed out. Lu Renkuang, can I swap with you?" Lu Renkuang's face turned green. There was no way he would change it even if he died. "You can still beat her, but I'll be beaten into an iron-head fish in less than 10 minutes, half an hour later. Lu Renkuang went to make hot pot, saying that he was not in the mood to cultivate after such a scene and wanted to have a meal first. Everyone gladly accepted. Han Fei changed a set of clothes and covered his bald head again. Seeing Xia Xiaochan sitting on a tree trunk and swinging her feet, he shivered. It won't happen for the time being, right? Puchi, Xia Xiaochan grinned. Look at how scared you are. Do you think I'll eat you? Han Fei shook his head like a rattle. You won't eat me, but I'm absolutely sure that you will hack me to death. Lu Renkuang was making hot pot at the moment and looked over from time to time. Finally, he said to Xia Xiaochan, come to Han Fei next time. Anyway, you can't be killed. It doesn't matter. You're welcome. Han Fei, Luo Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu ran over from the library with a large pile of ancient books. Seeing that Han Fei had come out, they said, check the ancient books. Maybe we can find the answer. Xia Xiaochan sighed helplessly. Don't bother. I've read all the ancient books here. However, after this attack, it won't happen again for a while. Hearing that, Han Fei was relieved and put his hands on his hips. That's great. I feel that the world is safe. Xia Xiaochan, Zhang Xuanyu sat down on the ancient book. Han Fei, what is your spiritual beast? Xia Xiaochan also regained her previous cheerfulness and asked, yes. I saw it. It even has wings. Han Fei didn't intend to hide it. The feather god Ray would show up sooner or later, and going to the fiery mountain was just an excuse. Immediately, with a thought from Han Fei, the feather god Ray appeared on the ground. At this moment, it was folding its wings and rubbing against Han Fei happily, thinking, you finally let me out. Han Fei said, a mutant feather god Ray, an exotic spiritual beast, everyone gasped. Luo Xiaobai stared at the feather god Ray. Han Fei, are you sure it's an exotic spiritual beast? Not a legendary one? Han Fei thought to himself, do I really have to tell you? Immediately, he patted Little Gold's head and said, it's an exotic spiritual beast, but it looks a little strange. I found it in a treasure trove in the fiery mountain. Put it away. Just when Han Fei was about to make up a story, he felt that someone slapped him in the forehead. He looked back, only to see Old Bai disdainfully saying, I hate braggart like you the most. A legendary spiritual beast is a legendary spiritual beast, not an exotic one. You don't even know basic common sense. Exotic? Han Fei was dumbfounded. What basic common sense? Old Bai glanced at the feather god Ray and then said, there are no contractual spiritual beasts that can fly below level 30. There are no exotic spiritual beasts. Han Fei? Wenren Yu stood next to Xia Xiaochan and said with a smile, you're lucky. However, do you know why only hidden fishers can fly among ordinary cultivators? Han Fei asked in a daze, why? The corners of Wenren Yu's mouth curled up slightly. Because humans can't fly. However, when you become a peak-level hanging fisher or a hidden fisher, you can hunt a special kind of fish and get their wings. That's how you get the ability to fly. Immediately, everyone looked at Han Fei and thought to themselves, keep bragging. Han Fei was speechless for a long time. I fucking thought that the wings of a hidden fisher were cultivated by themselves. But it turns out that they were obtained from a fish. Han Fei was extremely embarrassed. Even hidden fishers had to get wings from fish, but now he had wings and could fly. Wasn't this a blow to his pride? For a moment, the atmosphere was a little awkward. Han Fei immediately patted Little Gold's head. You lied to me. I thought you were an exotic creature. That's too much. Everyone. Little Gold was dumbfounded by Han Fei's slap. What's wrong with me? Why did you hit me? Lu Renkuang held the spoon and said in a daze, so, legendary? Zhang Xuanyu swallowed. So, the greatest benefit of the secret realm of the fiery mountain was actually taken by you? Luo Xiaobai nodded. More than one. Only then did everyone remember that the sea token that Han Fei got had attracted the experts of the Thousand-Star City in person. Just like that, even a fool would know that this thing was definitely extraordinary. Old Bai looked at Han Fei as if he were an idiot. So, do you understand? Don't let others find it, or don't even use it. Or use it but don't let others see it. Zhang Xuanyu mumbled, put his arm around Lu Renkuang's neck, and walked to the kitchen. I can't mess with people with legendary contractual spiritual beasts. Chapter 284. Han Fei silently took back Little Gold. He had thought that he could use Little Gold reasonably in the future. After all, he had been exposed before. Now it was the opposite. He was crying because of his own stupidity. Even Luo Xiaobai glanced at Han Fei in disdain, as if saying, keep bragging. I'll never believe you again. The atmosphere was awkward. Xia Xiaochan jumped down from the tree and patted Han Fei's arm generously. A legendary creature is a legendary creature. It's nothing to be surprised about. Anyway, it won't be better than my giant arowana. Han Fei was helpless. Are you comforting me or irritating me? At this time, Xia Xiaochan asked him via voice transmission, is that a legendary creature or not? Han Fei's eyelids twitched and he quickly said, of course it is. What else can it be but a legendary creature? Xia Xiaochan said gloomily, the president once told me that the giant arowana is a legendary creature. I still haven't figured out how powerful a legendary creature is. Han Fei forced a smile. Legendary? Of course it's a legendary creature. Xia Xiaochan smiled slyly. Aren't you surprised? Han Fei shut his mouth. Han Fei almost wanted to die. Why did I fall into a trap again? Could people nowadays be a little more sincere and a little less scheming? When they were eating hot pot, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan came. For some reason, the two of them felt that the atmosphere was weird, but they didn't dare to say anything or ask anything. Han Fei said to liven up the atmosphere, hey, are you short of phantom beads? I have extra ones here. Zhang Xuanyu snorted. You want to please us? Not at all. Fatty and I have already eaten them. They won't work if we eat more. Xia Xiaochan smiled. I've eaten them too. Luo Xiaobai asked in surprise, what phantom bead? Xia Xiaochan giggled. When we were in the fiery mountain, you appeared directly on the mountain, so you don't know. There is a kind of fish that can become invisible and has a kind of bead in its body. If you eat it, your perception range will be increased. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. 35x's Han Fei shrugged and thought to himself, I can't please her. Luo Xiaobai is just an iceberg and won't please me. If you need it, just ask for it yourself. Han Fei waved his hand helplessly, and thousands of phantom fish piled up on the ground in the forest. Luo Xiaobai nodded, stretched out her hand, and countless thin vines pierced the dead phantom fish. Not long after, a large number of specter pearls were laid out in front of her. Luo Xiaobai frowned. How much do you want? Old Bai took a sip. This thing is just eso, but it should be enough for you alone. Also, give Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan one each. Old Bai and Xiao Zhan continued to drink, obviously not taking it seriously at all. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan widened their eyes. This fish looked very strange. Its body was actually transparent. The key was, what was that specter pearl? Luo Xiaobai ate so many by herself and barely had enough, but they only needed one? Wenren Yu frowned and said, Han Fei, hurry up and put it away. It smells fishy. You can leave now. Did anyone make trouble for the fish dragons this time? I solved it for you. Han Fei was taken aback. Who? Wenren Yu smiled faintly. That's not the point. The point is that I bought dozens of rolls of cloth for you. Wow. Han Fei's blood froze, and he felt that everyone's eyes were focused on him. Luo Xiaobai nodded coldly. My clothes are ruined. Xia Xiaochan blinked her eyes. Yes, we're back to school. You can change your clothes. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan, the two novices, were confused again. This time, Ling Yuan asked in a low voice, Senior brother Han Fei, do you know how to make clothes? Old Bai said leisurely, well, your teacher Xiao Zhan and I don't have clothes to wear. Fei, Han Fei felt that his young heart had been hit hard. I don't need to cultivate. I'm very busy, and you want me to make clothes? Han Fei sat in the cave, muttering to himself while refining clothes. Fortunately, he didn't need to do it himself. He just needed to throw the cloth in, but this also required spiritual energy. Of course, in the eyes of outsiders, they wouldn't know where Han Fei threw the cloth. 35 exes after refining the clothes and jewelry, Han Fei was ready to try to cultivate the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies to see if he could continue to improve it. In the Starfire Pavilion, after forcibly tempering the indestructible body with the power of the fish fire, the upper limit of his spiritual energy had reached 2,999 points. Although it was only 1 point away from 3,000, it was a huge gap. Han Fei felt that it would be best if he could make a breakthrough and grow out his hair first. Otherwise, he could only make a cassock for himself. However, before Han Fei started, he saw a figure blocking the entrance of the cave. Han Fei was shocked, thinking that Xia Shaochan was here again. She was the only one who could appear here without a sound. However, when Han Fei looked up, he found that Old Bai was leaning lazily against the stone at the entrance of the cave. "President?" Old Bai said lazily, "I heard from Xiao Bai that you didn't choose a heaven-level combat skill in the secret realm but chose a mortal-level fish avatar technique?" Han Fei was speechless. He should have thought of it. Xiao Bai was a straight girl, so she must have told him everything. Han Fei rolled his eyes and chuckled. "President, you even know this?" "Yes, but I haven't studied it yet." However, Old Bai asked, "Why did you choose this?" Han Fei said confidently, "If I can become a fish, wouldn't it be much easier to find treasures in the sea in the future?" Surprisingly, Old Bai didn't refute but asked, "You said it was incomplete. You even chose an incomplete version. Do you think you can complete it by yourself?" Han Fei was thinking quickly. Why is this old man so interested in a mortal-level fish avatar technique? He immediately shook his head. How can it be so simple? This is not so much a combat skill as a conjecture about transforming into a fish. There are too many things involved in it. When Old Bai heard this, he immediately asked suspiciously, "Really?" Han Fei said, "Of course, I can also tell you about it." Han Fei thought to himself, "I've been so frank. Why do I have to lie to you? This book is about theoretical knowledge, but the combat skill is like a thesis. Even if I study it, I may not be able to learn it. But who would have thought that Old Bai sat on the stone? Oh, then tell me about it." Han Fei was dumbfounded. "I'm just being polite to you. I don't want to tell you anything." In the end, Han Fei could only pick a paragraph casually and said, "In fact, most of the contents are conjectures. For example, humans, fish, and all things in the world have one thing in common, that is, spiritual energy and energy. Assuming that human beings can completely separate themselves into these two things, then theoretically, they can transform into all things in the world." Old Bai narrowed his eyes slightly and then sneered. "How difficult? What else?" Han Fei said, "And if human beings can destroy their meridians, then theoretically, they can change the shape of their bones and flesh. In principle, they can also be transformed into fish." Old Bai's pupils shrank again and he sneered again. How many people can survive after destroying their meridians? How can spiritual energy circulate? It's just a fantasy." Han Fei chuckled and said, "Yes, after I read it, I also said it's impossible. If I destroy my own meridians, won't I become a fisherman again?" In fact, Han Fei thought to himself, Ren Tianfei is a fucking exception. This guy's meridians are all broken and he forcibly cultivated himself into a fish without meridians. And all this appeared in the indestructible body. Who said it couldn't be realized? Old Bai said leisurely, "What else?" Han Fei thought to himself, Old Bai must be up to something. Why is he so interested in the fish transformation technique? However, an idea suddenly occurred to him. How could I forget this? Han Fei sat up straight and asked, "President, do you know about the Soul Ocean?" Old Bai suddenly looked at Han Fei, and his pretentious laziness also disappeared. Old Bai stared at Han Fei and asked, "Does the book mention the Soul Ocean?" Han Fei was also taken aback by Old Bai's reaction, but he could only bite the bullet and say, "The book says that human souls originate from the Soul Ocean, and spiritual beasts also live in the Soul Ocean. The so-called spiritual awakening is actually to find a spiritual beast that agrees with you in the Soul Ocean." Old Bai's face became serious at this moment and he asked, "What else?" Han Fei blinked. The author doesn't know about it either. He has never been to the Soul Ocean, so I don't know about it. But, President, is there really an ocean in the soul? Old Bai's face changed and he glanced at Han Fei with a complicated look. Theoretically, there is. Otherwise, where does the spiritual beast go after entering the body? Han Fei asked suspiciously, what about contractual spiritual beasts? Aren't contractual spiritual beasts also taken into the body? Old Bai nodded. Theoretically speaking, when you have a contractual spiritual beast, it will have the ability to go to the soul ocean. This is why some people summon blade fish, but the blade fish they summon will be stronger and have a longer vitality than ordinary blade fish. Han Fei gasped. President, is there a way to go to the soul ocean? Or has anyone been there? Old Bai sneered. How would I know? However, there is a high probability that there is no such way. If people can enter the soul ocean, won't they become spiritual beasts? Suddenly, Old Bai stared at Han Fei. You mean, the author wants to create a way to let people enter the soul ocean in the form of a soul? Then, the spiritual beast that is possessed in the soul ocean will reappear in this world? Han Fei's eyes widened. I didn't say that. I just wanted to know the way to enter the soul ocean. God knows how you came up with this idea. Old Bai seemed a little excited. Okay, let's stop talking about this. Remember, don't mention the matter of turning into a fish to anyone. In the future, even in school, you'd better not mention it. Han Fei was stunned. But Old Bai snorted. This is a forbidden technique. It is said that someone once succeeded, but after succeeding, he became a sea demon. Anyway, remember, a lousy mortal-level fish avatar technique can never turn you into a fish. Don't try it. If you want a heaven-level combat skill, the library has it. But don't study this fish avatar technique. Han Fei nodded, but in fact he was horrified. Become a sea demon. Chapter 285. Of course, Han Fei was not frightened by Old Bai's words. From the moment he got the fish avatar technique, he knew that it was not easy to practice. The reason why he hadn't deduced it was that he was savoring the knowledge and feasibility of the book. It was undeniable that the person who wrote this combat skill was either a genius or a lunatic. Han Fei felt that the person was more likely to be a lunatic. That was because, from the beginning to the end, the descriptions and deductions in the book were all in the direction of how to play oneself into a cripple. However, this kind of reasoning made people feel that it was very reasonable, and they were fascinated by it. After Old Bai left, Han Fei quietly sealed the entrance of the cave. Give it up? That's impossible. I have to deduce it. A new combat skill appeared in front of him. Existing combat skill fish avatar technique, remarks, a semi-finished avatar type combat skill, only for reference. Deduction cost, 0.100000. Deduction result, unknown, remarks, the direction of the deduction is unknown. The result of the deduction is unknown. Please be cautious. Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. Why should I be cautious? Anyway, if I can't deduce something good, I won't practice it. Deduce. After a while, to Han Fei's great expectations, a new combat skill appeared. Existing combat skill fish avatar technique, remarks, a semi-finished avatar type combat skill, created by dozens of people, only for reference. Deduction cost, 0.300000. Deduction result, unknown, remarks, the direction of the deduction is unknown. The result of the deduction is unknown. Please be cautious. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. The name and the level didn't change, but the grade changed to ultra quality. Han Fei couldn't help but gasp. This is a mortal-level combat skill. In the past, the deduction of a mortal-level combat skill only required 1,000 points of spiritual energy. It could even be deduced to a mortal-level divine quality combat skill with 1,000 points of spiritual energy. But could it be deduced to an ultra-quality combat skill with 100,000 points of spiritual energy? Han Fei took a look at this ultra-quality fish avatar technique again. He was immediately captivated by what he saw. Yes, this combat skill hadn't changed much in essence. However, after the grade was improved, there were a lot of other things in it, and there were even real-life experiments. Interesting. Han Fei stopped practicing. He was now very curious about the fish avatar technique. All of this was too profound. Back then, when he possessed Blackie and entered the Soul Sea, that feeling was something that he could not forget for a long time. Now, he had a new hope. For example, there was a passage in which someone successfully destroyed his own meridians and was treated with great medicine. In the end, he survived. Unfortunately, he encountered the same situation as Ren Tianfei. At the same time that his meridians were destroyed, the spiritual energy in his body also collapsed. However, this person did not give up. He actually found a spiritual spring and swallowed it. Although the spiritual energy was still overflowing, his body had become a moving spiritual spring. This person finally used the fish transformation technique, but the result was not ideal. It couldn't be said that it didn't succeed. It could be said that gills, fins, and even his skin was transforming, becoming soft. Unfortunately, this person was only able to transform halfway before he died, weakly, just like that. Seeing this, Han Fei frowned. What would happen when one cultivated the immortal body to the end? The only thing he had accomplished so far was this layer of skin. There was only one word to describe it: tf. It was impervious to blades and impervious to fire and water. Of course, except for Xia Shaochuan. As for his flesh and bones, although they had also been tempered, they were still far from being perfect. If he practiced the fish avatar technique now, he might end up like that guy just now. Flash Dance 35XS. However, what shocked Han Fei even more was that the consumption of the mortal level ultra quality had reached 300,000 points of spiritual energy. How horrifying was this number? If the mortal level was so high, what about the rest? Han Fei continued to try. After a moment, existing combat skills fish transformation technique, note, a semi-finished transformation combat skill, combined with hundreds of years of research only for reference. Deduction consumption, 0.10000000. Deduction result, unknown. Note, the direction of the deduction is unknown, and so is the result of the deduction. Please be cautious. Wow, Han Fei was stunned and gasped. Only at the mystic level? Another deduction would consume 1 million points of spiritual energy? Most importantly, this thing was still a semi-finished product, which meant that it still had no cultivation value. In Han Fei's mind, a lot of data and information flooded in. His first reaction was to experiment, and there were a lot of experiment examples in it. Han Fei couldn't help but swallow. This was much more than the trial data just now. There were hundreds of examples. After roughly sorting out the mystic level fish transformation technique, Han Fei found that the theoretical knowledge hadn't changed much, but the deduction process and details were richer. As long as he tried it, he could basically turn into half a fish. Of course, he couldn't survive more than 3 days. Han Fei looked at all the examples one by one, and none of them could survive more than 3 days. Suddenly, Han Fei's heart did a flip. It was said that there was a young man who was born with incomplete meridians and could only stay in the realm of a level 2 fisher for the rest of his life. Han Fei thought for a moment. Wasn't this referring to his previous self? Wasn't he like this at the beginning? It was said that someone forcibly broke the young man's meridians, injected spiritual spring water to replace them, and was repeatedly treated by a spirit gatherer. In the end, the young man survived and practiced the fish transformation technique. In the end, the young man turned into an ironhead fish. His bones and flesh had undergone earth-shaking changes, and he could even maintain a little consciousness, becoming a rare ironhead fish. Wow, Han Fei was shocked. Did I succeed? Han Fei hurriedly continued to study, but in the end he found that only this one case was successful and the others were all dead. But even so, Han Fei was still very shocked. One success meant that the fish avatar technique was feasible. Han Fei quickly wanted to continue deducing, but when he saw the 1 million points of spiritual energy, he immediately swallowed. I can't deduce anymore. I need spiritual energy to become a peak-level great fishing master, and I need spiritual energy to deduce the 4th level of the true spirit fishing art. By then, the growth of my spiritual heritage will need spiritual energy, and so will all kinds of cultivation. At this moment, more than half of the spiritual spring pond in Forge the Universe had fallen. I'm afraid that when I become a dangling fisher, it will be consumed up. Forget it, this combat skill can't be mastered overnight. I'm afraid that even if I deduce it to the spirit level, I may not succeed. I might as well deduce it in the future when I have a chance. Han Fei. Han Fei. Just when Han Fei was thinking deeply, he suddenly heard Xia Xiaochan calling his name in a low voice from the gap of the cave entrance. Han Fei hurriedly pushed the stone away, only to find that the sky had already darkened. At this moment, the 3 moons were in the same sky, and the night wind was blowing gently. It was very quiet. Xia Xiaochan was hiding at the entrance of the cave, looking very cautious. Han Fei asked, "Xia Xiaochan, what are you doing?" Xia Xiaochan jumped into the cave, took Han Fei's arm, and whispered, "Tonight, we are going to do a big thing." Han Fei was taken aback. "What big thing?" "Zhang Xuanyu, you, and I, the 3 of us are going to explore Teacher Xiao Zhan's secrets." Han Fei's eyelids twitched. What secrets does Teacher Xiao Zhan have? Han Fei thought, Xiao Zhan is just a silly uncle. What's there to explore? Secrets? Xia Xiaochan said quickly in a low voice. Have you forgotten where Teacher Xiao Zhan got his bull conch? He used to sell bull conches every day, and there was always a bull conch in the small puddle in the school every day. Don't you doubt it? Han Fei sneered. Where did he get it? He fished it up. People like them can casually throw a fishing hook 1,000 miles away like it's a joke. Xia Xiaochan shook her head. Then why didn't he fish for something else? There are many more delicious than bull conches. That seems to be the case. Han Fei frowned. Why didn't I think of this? In the past, many people ate bull conch hot pot. Everyone was used to it, but no one asked where the bull conches came from. Later, after seeing Wenren Yu's fishing methods, everyone thought they had figured it out. It turned out that Wenren Yu fished them in this way. Han Fei thought to himself, anyway, I can't practice the fish avatar technique anymore. It's interesting to explore the origin of the unknown bull conches. Han Fei quickly asked, where is Zhang Xuanyu? Why are Kuang Kuang and Xiaobai not here? Xia Xiaochan said, Xiaobai can't come. Kuang Kuang said he wanted to sleep like a dead pig. Zhang Xuanyu said he would persuade him. After a while, Zhang Xuanyu poked his head into the cave, saw Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, and was overjoyed. Fei, you've joined us? Han Fei rolled his eyes. You should have called me earlier. Where is Kuang Kuang? Chapter 286. Zhang Xuanyu dragged Lurenquang out by force. 35XS not only Lurenquang, but Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan also poked their heads out, looking curious. Xia Xiaochan exclaimed, Zhang Xuanyu, you brought them here too? Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. Let's go together. Let them see what the cohesion of a team is. Chu Jinan waved his hand. Hello, senior brother, senior sister. Ling Yuan asked, are we really going to Kuei, Teacher Xiao Zhan? Zhang Xuanyu's face suddenly changed. What do you mean? Kuei. What we are doing is exploring, seeking knowledge. In the Thug Academy, except for Old Bai who slept in the library every day, Xiao Zhan and Wenren Yu actually occupied a mountain. At this moment, it was dark and windy, and the cool wind blew on the leaves, making a rustling sound. Han Fei and the others all held their breath and even changed their clothes into fish suits. All the little bells on Xia Xiaochan's body were removed. 6 silhouettes floated in the darkness like ghosts. Suddenly, the 6 of them saw a figure standing in front of them. Wow, everyone was shocked. Have we been discovered? We haven't even gone up the mountain yet. However, the figure said to them via voice transmission, I think I need to keep an eye on Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan, lest they be led astray by you. Xia Xiaochan was surprised. Xiaobai? The figure in front of her was Luo Xiaobai. Originally, she didn't want to go. She was not that curious. However, after thinking about it, she felt that it would be a bit strange if she didn't go alone, so she came. Lurenquang looked bitter. You will regret it. Zhang Xuanyu said, What are you afraid of? Wait a minute, let's watch from a distance first. Xia Xiaochan responded, I can be invisible. I can get a little closer. It's best if one of you goes to attract attention. 35x. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. I can also be invisible. With that said, Han Fei used the half-baked stealth technique. This was the characteristic of the mist-hidden grass. Zhang Xuanyu was stunned. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were stunned. Han Fei can be invisible? Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Fei, you've gone too far. Han Fei said disdainfully, who told you not to know? Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. I'm a soul warrior. Why do I need to be invisible? After a while, they climbed to the top of a mountain behind Bao Shou Academy. Rather than calling it a mountain, it was more appropriate to call it the edge of the floating island. There was a cliff not far from the top of the mountain. If they jumped off, they would probably fly in the sky for a long time before falling into the sea. When they were about to reach Xiao Zhan's residence, Lu Renkuang said, "You go ahead. I'll be right behind you." "What are you scared of? Can teacher Xiao Zhan eat us?" Xia Xiaochan said calmly, "Kuang, don't be afraid. Don't be less courageous than your junior brothers and sisters." Suddenly, Zhang Xuanyu said, "Look, there's someone on the cliff." Everyone immediately turned their heads and saw a burly figure standing at the edge of the cliff. Upon closer inspection, the crowd realized that the man was not standing on the ground, but in the air, about half a meter above the ground. Xia Xiaochan said, "Don't make a sound. I'll go invisible and get closer." Han Fei glanced at her. "I can get closer too." Luo Xiaobai didn't say anything. Although she could also be invisible, she was not so curious. Han Fei followed Xia Xiaochan, and the two cautiously crept behind a big stone. At this moment, Han Fei clearly saw that there was a big pit near Xiao Zhan's small shabby house. There were a few bull conches in the 35xs pit, and they had no intention of moving at all. Han Fei asked, Is there a bull conch pit here?" Xia Xiaochan nodded. "Yes, once I sneaked over when teacher Xiao Zhan went to the market to sell bull conches." Han Fei took a deep breath. That's weird. Why did Xiao Zhan get so many bull conches? Just as the two were chatting, suddenly, Han Fei felt his body lighten. Before he could react, he was already in the air. Hey. When Han Fei opened his eyes again, he found that Xia Xiaochan was floating next to him, and Zhang Xuanyu and the others were all floating in the sky. Fuck! Before everyone realized what was going on, they saw that they, including Luo Xiaobai and Chu Jin, seemed to be strung together. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan thought, "We don't know anything. We didn't see anything. Why are we flying?" Xiao Zhan's voice sounded leisurely. "You're here to look for excitement, right? Okay, I'll satisfy you." "Everyone?" Lu Renkuang yelled, "I told you not to come. Teacher Xiao Zhan, I was forced to do this." Xiao Zhan nodded. "Since we're here, let's form a team and have some fun." As soon as he said that, the 7 of them flew out at the same time. Only then did they realize that they seemed to be tied up by the fishing line. Swish, they didn't know how, but in the blink of an eye, they appeared outside the floating island. Between the clouds, they rippled quickly. Help! Teacher, I was wrong. Lu Renkuang was roaring wildly, Zhang Xuanyu was shouting for help, and Xia Xiaochan was screaming. As for Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan, they were dumbfounded and kept shouting. Han Fei felt that his mouth and nose were filled with wind. This is so much more exciting than a roller coaster. What a roller coaster! This is a real roller coaster. The upgraded deluxe package super roller coaster in an alternate world. Anyone who had been on it would know what it felt like to ripple in the clouds and travel tens of thousands of meters in the blink of an eye. Han Fei covered his mouth with his hands. "Teacher, we'll never come again." Zhang Xuanyu was horrified. "Teacher, I feel like I'm going to fall. I can't fly anymore." Luo Xiaobai's face was black. A bunch of idiots. Lu Renkuang was even worse. He closed his eyes smoothly. God knew if he had fainted or something. Iron head dolls, 7 dolls on one line, flying, swinging, not afraid. La la, jingle dong dong ding. I'm not afraid, everyone. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, Fei. You're not afraid, but I am. Xia Xiaochan screamed, why are you still singing at such a time? Han Fei shouted, "I'm suppressing the fear in my heart. You don't understand. I'm bringing you some joy." Zhang Xuanyu was speechless and scolded, "Joy?" Lu Renkuang scolded, "Lunatics, a bunch of lunatics." Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan held each other's hands tightly, tears almost falling. "What kind of people are they? We really didn't see anything. Why are we on a roller coaster?" Lu Renkuang slowly opened his eyes. "Sooner or later, I'll be pissed to death by you." At this time, Xiao Zhan's voice echoed in everyone's ears. "How about it? Is it exciting?" Lu Renkuang roared, "Exciting, exciting, teacher, stop playing." Han Fei added, "Exciting, exciting, teacher, we're going to cultivate." Xiao Zhan nodded. "Since it's exciting, let's play a little longer," everyone shouted, "Don't." Iron head dolls. Swish, Han Fei flew out in a parabola. The next second, Han Fei almost peed his pants. "I'm at a height of tens of thousands of meters. Attach." With little gold attached, Han Fei grew a pair of wings on his back and then flew up. Xiao Zhan shouted, "Iron head, fly back by yourself." Han Fei. Fortunately, although this roller coaster seemed exciting, it didn't really fly far. They only wandered dozens of kilometers away for a while before they were pulled back. When Han Fei flew back by himself, he found that Xia Xiaochan and the others had already run away. At this moment, they were gathered next to the treehouse. Han Fei landed with a black face. "I just want to ask, whose bad idea was it?" Zhang Xuanyu immediately pointed to Xia Xiaochan. It was her. She insisted that teacher Xiao Zhan had a secret. "Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone." Xia Xiaochan angrily pulled out her knife. "Say it again?" "I said we were going to steal bull conches. It was you who suggested this. Now you're blaming it on me?" Han Fei covered his face. "It was dangerous. It was thrilling. I don't want to play with these people anymore." Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan murmured together, their faces pale. They had never seen such a scene before. Then Ling Yuan said, "Senior brother, senior sister, well, we're going to cultivate." After the two of them left, Lu Renkuang complained, "I told you not to go." I want to vomit." Luo Xiaochan rolled her eyes at them. "I'm going to sleep." Lu Renkuang said, "Wait a minute." Everyone immediately looked at him. Lu Renkuang said leisurely, "If you must explore the secrets of our school, in fact, there is a place that I never go to." Chapter 287. Lu Renkuang was no longer smiling as usual, and there was a hint of seriousness in his expression. Xia Xiaochan immediately said suspiciously, "Kuang, you can't joke around. If you're strung up and thrown out again, I'll hack you to death." Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "That's right. The facts show that our school's secrets cannot be explored. What happened just now is a good example." "Ha, I'm not going." Luo Xiaobai nodded. "I'm not going either." Lu Renkuang said anxiously, "You even dared to explore teacher Xiao Zhan's place, but you dare not explore this uninhabited place? Actually, on this mountain, there is a small cave." Han Fei was about to leave, but he was stopped by Lu Renkuang. Caves were always synonymous with fortuitous encounters. Stories of peerless trash falling off a cliff, mistakenly entering a cave, and returning powerfully 3 years later, were there any lack of them? Of course, most of these happened in legendary stories. Han Fei wondered, is there really no one watching? Lu Renkuang patted his chest and said, "There's definitely no one. It's just that the place is a bit weird." At this moment, Luo Xiaobai turned around too. "How so?" Lu Renkuang said vividly, "You all know that I was the first to come to school. At that time, we were poor and didn't have anything to eat. So, I wondered if I could find some on the mountain. Then, I mistakenly entered that cave." Lu Renkuang described solemnly, "It's a very small cave in the north corner. It's covered by grasses outside, and it's dark inside. Maybe it was because my strength was relatively low at that time, and I seemed to have fainted after entering for only 200 meters. It was the principal who saved me." There's such a place? Everyone's interest was immediately piqued. Since they had already been on the roller coaster today, they didn't have to worry about it. Ji and say now that he was done, he was left with a stubborn head. Don't you know how to hold your breath? Lu Renkuang said innocently, I held my breath the second time. But after I held my breath, my eyes burned, and then something seemed to seep into my skin. Then I fainted again. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. Didn't you ask the president? Lu Renkuang replied, I did. But the principal told me that he would be disappointed if he knew. However, I've always felt that there's a big secret there. There's definitely something good there. I won't be disappointed. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and put his arms around Lu Renkuang's neck. Why didn't you tell me earlier? If you had told us earlier, why would we have gone to play trapeze? Xia Xiaochan took Luo Xiaobai's hand. Xiaobai, let's go and take a look. Luo Xiaobai looked at Lu Renkuang suspiciously. Are you sure? Lu Renkuang patted his chest and said, Really? At that time, I was still a junior great fishing master, but now I'm a peak-level great fishing master. I should be able to hold on for a while. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Since that place is so mysterious, we won't take Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan with us. Otherwise, according to what you said, the two of them would have fainted long ago. Everyone discussed and set off again. This time, everyone was more careful. They let Lu Renkuang take the lead and were ready to escape at any time. The group passed through the forest and the wilderness overgrown with wild grass. Finally, Lu Renkuang pushed aside a bunch of broad-leaved grasses, and everybody saw the entrance of a cave that was not much bigger than a door. Han Fei was stunned. Really? Zhang Xuanyu hurriedly ran forward. Oh, Kuang, you're really something. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. You're right. Lu Renkuang said proudly, See? I didn't lie to you, did I? Luo Xiaobai said lightly, Hold your breath and go in. Pay attention when it hurts your eyes. Don't rush forward. Everybody nodded and held their breath at the same time. Xia Xiaochan summoned the red fire tricky lobster to lead the way. Walking forward like this, the cave was quite bright. After walking for about 200 meters, everybody suddenly stopped. Han Fei felt that his eyes were sore. He was about to send a voice transmission to the others, but the next moment, Lu Renkuang and the others fell to the ground one after another. Han Fei was so shocked that he forgot to hold his breath and hurriedly shouted. At that moment, an indescribable smell pierced his nose. Then, Han Fei's consciousness blurred, and he fell to the ground with a thud. The next morning, dozens of meters away from the entrance of the cave, the five of them were lying on the grass, and one of Zhang Xuanyu's feet was still on Lu Renkuang's belly. Luo Xiaobai and Xia Xiaochan both kicked Lu Renkuang's head. Han Fei was lying next to them with his arms and legs spread out. Who kicked me? Suddenly, for some reason, a foot fell on Lu Renkuang's head and woke him up. Since he woke up, the others were also woken up. Han Fei was in a daze and felt that his blood was freezing. What happened last night? Why did he pass out? Xia Xiaochan said, Han Fei, you're pressing on my hair. Han Fei rubbed his head. Oh, don't move. Let me get up first. After a while, the five of them sat on the grass, staring at each other. Lu Renkuang sighed. I passed out again. Xia Xiaochan asked, Who fished us out yesterday? Zhang Xuanyu said, I don't know. I just felt that my head was cramping and then I passed out. Luo Xiaobai frowned. It seems to be Han Fei, right? Seeing everyone looking at him, Han Fei said innocently, I fainted after following them. I don't know how I got out. Lu Renkuang took a deep breath. It was the president. After a moment, the five of them ran to the big tree at the school gate and found that Old Bai was eating a melon in the field while rocking a chair. Lu Renkuang ran over and asked, President, just tell me, what secrets are hidden in that cave? Old Bai glanced at Han Fei and the others and said leisurely, Yo, you're awake? Why didn't you cultivate properly? Cultivation, all kinds of fancy stuff? Luo Xiaobai asked, President, is there really a secret in that cave? Han Fei asked, President, what on earth is hidden in that cave? I smelled an inexplicable smell, and then I passed out inexplicably. Old Bai looked at Han Fei and the others strangely. Do you really want to know? Everyone nodded. Old Bai sighed leisurely. Actually, there are secrets everywhere. It's for your own good that I didn't tell you. Since you want to know, don't regret it. Lu Renquang nodded quickly. I absolutely won't regret it. Even Han Fei was curious. It didn't make sense. Even if it was a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, he could at least try it. In that remote place, he fainted before he saw anything. Old Bai looked up at the sky and said slowly, I heard from my teacher that thousands of years ago, the first president of the Thug Academy, what was his name again? I can't remember. Anyway, he was a man who fought with a peerless master and was unfortunately poisoned. Everyone was immediately interested. This story was very interesting. Xia Xiaochan asked, then what? Old Bai sneered. Then, our first president defeated his opponent. But he had to detoxify, right? So, with supreme divine power, he gathered the poison in one place and excreted it. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, so, we were almost poisoned? Han Fei thought for a moment and felt that something was wrong. Suddenly, Han Fei's face changed drastically. No, President, you just used the word excretion, right? How do you excrete? Everyone was stunned. What did Han Fei mean? Old Bai chuckled. How can I do that? The fastest way to excrete is, of course, to defecate. After thousands of years, the poisonous gas dissipated and the smell became much fainter. Pu, Yi, Xiaoshan, Luo Xiaobai, and the others all looked disgusted. Lu Renquang was dumbfounded. Zhang Xuanyu's face was pale. Quang, how persevering are you? You've been to this place 3 times? Humph. Luo Xiaobai snorted coldly. She swore that she would never explore the secrets of the school with these bastards again. Xia Xiaochan said coldly, Quang, why didn't you become retarded because of the smoke? Han Fei patted Lu Renquang on the shoulder. Be more careful in the future. I'd rather be a trapeze artist again. That's better than being passed out from the smell of that thing. Lu Renquang was dumbfounded and said with a sad face, What did you do? I fainted 3 times because of the smell. Damn it, who am I going to complain to? Then Old Bai also scolded with a smile, Go back to your room. Cultivate? Do you want to go there again? Cell phone site. Chapter 288. After experiencing 2 failed explorations in the academy, everyone really went into seclusion. After cultivating, no one mentioned the word explore anymore. Han Fei stayed in the cave and was also practicing the 108 spirit-absorbing combat powers. He found that although at this time, cultivating this could no longer increase the upper limit of spiritual energy. However, it could gradually allow the body to absorb the energy that dissipated in the muscles, bones, and flesh, and the effect was extraordinary. Half a month later, the cave where Han Fei was in suddenly surged with spiritual energy, making the weeds around the cave lush. Luo Xiaobai sensed the situation here first through the flowers and plants. So he took Ling Yuan and Chu Jinan to the entrance of the cave. Luo Xiaobai said to Ling Yuan and Chu Jinan, Wait here. Cultivate and absorb the escaping spiritual energy. Luo Xiaobai stood at the entrance of the cave, in case of any accidents during the breakthrough, so that she could help him in time. After more than an hour, the surging spiritual energy in the cave gradually dissipated, and Han Fei was slightly surprised to see the changes in his data. Owner Han Fei level greater than 29, peak level great fishing master, spiritual energy, 12256134499. Spiritual heritage, LV, high grade, spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish weapon, blue sea wandering dragon daggers majoring in Gong Pin water vein technique, volume 3 of void fishing. The upper limit of spiritual energy has increased by 500 points? Han Fei was stunned. When he made the breakthrough just now, he felt that a large amount of energy in his body was digested and absorbed, and his body seemed to have returned to normal. Could this be the effect of energy absorption? However, Han Fei was also puzzled. Was this number the bottleneck? Didn't this mean that no matter how weak he was, it was impossible to increase the upper limit of spiritual energy by practicing the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies? After pondering for a while, he decided that these were things that he should consider in the future. Han Fei's first reaction was to take out the rod on the back of the rock-holding turtle. Han Fei frowned when he picked it up. He could carry it. It wasn't as strenuous as he had imagined. However, when he started waving the stick, he couldn't help but smile bitterly again. It was still too heavy. He only swung it twice, and his speed was extremely slow. Not to mention fighting, it would be difficult for him to even execute a set of staff techniques. Forget it. One day, I will be able to wield you like a flaming wheel. Because most of the energy had been refined, Han Fei summoned his spiritual energy and prepared to grow his hair back. Roar, Ao Ao Ao, come out, come out. Luo Xiaobai came in and looked at Han Fei in confusion. What are you doing? Then, Luo Xiaobai saw spiritual energy surging on Han Fei's head, and fine short hair was growing. Unfortunately, its growth was extremely slow. It seemed like it had only grown an inch after a long time. Luo Xiaobai stared at it for a long time and said slowly, "Is your hair glowing?" Han Fei quickly stopped and asked in confusion, "Why is it glowing?" Luo Xiaobai approached and observed carefully. "You're using too much spiritual energy. Now that the spiritual energy has gathered on the hair, it will emit a faint glow." Ah! Han Fei's expression was a bit weird and he was a bit depressed. He had tried so hard, but his hair still didn't grow out. If he were to walk out like this with a glowing head, there would be 100% chance of people turning their heads. Forget it, forget it. Han Fei quickly dispersed all the spiritual energy. In the end, he changed from a bald head to a crew cut. Han Fei took out a blue sea wandering dragon dagger and looked at himself in the mirror. Not bad, although the crew cut hair was a bit short, it was still quite good looking. Therefore, Han Fei was overjoyed and said cheerfully, "Hey, Xiaobai, what do you think? Am I handsome?" Luo Xiaobai glanced at Han Fei lightly and expressionlessly said, "Since you've made a breakthrough, I'm leaving. By the way, since you've made a breakthrough, you'll start farming in a few days." Han Fei, Luo Xiaobai left without a word, making Han Fei not so confident in his handsome appearance. Walking out of the cave, Han Fei found that Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were sitting cross-legged. Ling Yuan's aura was unstable. With a flash of spiritual energy in Han Fei's hand, a string of spiritual energy poured into Ling Yuan's body. Han Fei said in a low voice, "Don't worry. Make a breakthrough." On the other side, Chu Jinan seemed to be unable to suppress the breakthrough. Han Fei shouted, "Don't make a breakthrough. Hold it back." Chu Jinan's face turned pale. He gritted his teeth tightly, immediately dispersed the spiritual energy, opened his eyes, and glanced at Han Fei apologetically. After a while, Ling Yuan successfully made a breakthrough, and the surrounding spiritual energy swarmed in. Han Fei even threw a little spiritual spring into her. Seeing that Ling Yuan had successfully made a breakthrough, Han Fei smiled and said, "Not bad, you have a good foundation." Then Han Fei looked at Chu Jinan. "Have you completed the 108 movements?" Chu Jinan's face was pale and he stammered, "There are still 2 left." Han Fei nodded slightly. Chu Jinan's body was too weak. Although his realm was high, so what? If Chu Jinan fought with Ling Yuan now, he was definitely no match for her. At this time, Luren Kuang, who often came out to eat, ran over. "Han Fei, I heard that you have long hair?" Han Fei said angrily, "Why are you here again?" Luren Kuang looked at Han Fei's head curiously and kept nodding. "It seems not bad." Seeming to notice Han Fei's unfriendly gaze, Luren Kuang smiled and said, "It's almost time for dinner. I came to tell you to eat." Han Fei glanced at him contemptuously. "You only know how to eat." Han Fei asked, "Hey, do you have a fine iron rod?" "Fine iron rod? Why do I need that lousy rod? However, I do have some iron tree rods." Han Fei said angrily, "Why do you need so many lousy rods? Throw one to each of them and try to beat them." Luren Kuang glanced at the 2 of them. "Has Ling Yuan made a breakthrough?" A smile appeared on Ling Yuan's cold face. "Thank you, senior brother Han Fei, for your spiritual energy." Han Fei shook his head. "Anyway, it's only a matter of 2 days. You don't need to use spiritual energy to fight with Chu Jinan. It's just a competition of strength." After a moment, the rod in Chu Jinan's hand was knocked away. He was completely defeated. This was not the physique that a junior peak-level fishing master should have at all. It was still too weak. Lu Renkuang exclaimed, "Fei, don't expect too much. Chu Jinan is already fast enough." When he first entered the school, he only had the physique of a level 7 fisher. Now he has the physique of a level 9 fisher. Clank, clank, clank. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan's voice came from behind. He is fast, but the physique of a fisher is still not enough. He must suppress his physique to that of a fishing master. Otherwise, there will be endless hidden dangers. Han Fei didn't even need to turn his head to know that Xia Xiaochan had come. Only when she wore beautiful clothes would she wear these bell jewelry. If they really fought, they would be useless at all. Han Fei was surprised. Have you also come out of seclusion? Xia Xiaochan snorted. I didn't. While talking, Xia Xiaochan's eyes kept glancing at Han Fei's head, which made Han Fei's face droop. Your new hairstyle is not bad. As soon as she said so, spiritual energy surged and a sharp blade tore through the air and pierced Han Fei's shoulder. Han Fei didn't flinch at all. He also wanted to test his strength to see if Xia Xiaochan could stab into his flesh this time. Chilla, a crisp sound, accompanied by the sliding of the knife, produced a violent friction sound. Xia Xiaochan said in shock, "Huh! Han Fei, your physique has become stronger again." Han Fei looked down and found a long blood stain on his shoulder. He was speechless. My skin is broken. Lu Renkuang, Xia Xiaochan said with a black face, shut up. It's just a broken skin. What else do you want? Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were both dumbfounded and felt their mouths were dry. Just a broken skin? Why did you scream like this? Chu Jinan was a little stunned. How strong is her physique? Is it because of the 108 spirit-absorbing combat powers? After he succeeded in his cultivation, he became like this. Chu Jinan couldn't help but feel refreshed. Since he was a child, his physique had been his biggest weakness. Now, the opportunity to improve his physique was right in front of him. Even if he had to risk his life, he had to suppress the urge to make a breakthrough. In the next few days, Han Fei didn't continue to cultivate. Strength was something that needed to be accumulated, it couldn't be used all the time. Cultivation was a good thing. For example, Xia Xiaochan was a typical person who grew up in battles. And Lu Renkuang, this guy was even more terrifying. He could become stronger by eating. It was ridiculous. And Luo Xiaobai, her cultivation method was usually in a place with abundant vegetation. Many times, she would choose to cultivate in the plantation. Most of the time, she would choose to cultivate in the plantation. 5 days later, when Zhang Xuanyu came out of seclusion, everyone finally stood on the same starting line. They were all peak-level great fishing masters. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were both junior fishing masters. Every time they saw Han Fei and the others, they shivered. Why did we enter such a school? Cultivation school? The age difference between us was only 1 year. At this moment, the 7 of them stood in the plantation, staring at each other. Zhang Xuanyu asked, so, not only the 5 of us, but the 7 people in our school have all been arranged to farm? Many members of the fish dragons were shocked. What? Our young master is going to farm? Cell phone. Chapter 289. In front of everyone's eyes, there were colorful flowers and spirit fruits of various grades, all of them intertwined with each other. What greeted him was the fragrance of the grass and the soil. Han Fei swallowed. 1,000-acre plantation should be big enough, right? The plantation left by old Jiang in the Heavenly Water Village was thousands of acres in size. Back then, when he took care of everything by himself, he almost died of exhaustion. However, just thinking about the plantation in front of him made Han Fei's blood freeze. Xiao Zhan pointed at the 100,000 mu plantation and said, from today onwards, there will be no more. It's yours. You can go to the level 2 fishery as you wish, provided that the maintenance of the plantation is not neglected for 1 year. 1 year? Everyone cried out in alarm. Han Fei was shocked. Master, are you serious? A year of farming? Zhang Xuanyu was about to cry. Teacher, I think we can go to level 3. It's the level 3 fishery. Luo Xiaobai said, Sir, I don't understand. Xia Xiaochan asked, Can you not farm? Lu Renquang mumbled, Farming is good, and there's food. Shut up. Everyone stared at this damn fatty. All he knew was to eat. Even Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were confused. Wasn't he here to study? Why was he farming now? Well, if we want to farm, we should at least wait until we become peak-level great fishing masters like senior brother and senior sister. Xiao Zhan also glanced at Chu Jinan and Zhang Han and said, The aptitude of you two is a bit poor, but it doesn't matter. Aptitude is not the absolute key. Then Xiao Zhan said to the others, Within a year, I want you to help Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan become great fishing masters. At the same time, you are not allowed to become dangling fishers within a year. Everyone was dumbfounded. Oh my God! Are you the teacher, or are we the teachers? If we take our juniors with us, what will you guys do? Also, what the hell is not allowed to become a dangling fisher? If he couldn't go any further, what else could he do but break through? Xiao Zhan was about to leave when he suddenly stopped. Oh, I forgot to give you the 4th brocade pouch. As he spoke, Xiao Zhan handed over the brocade pouch and said, Remember, if you want to enter the sea, only 2 people can go. The other 3 must stay underground. Xiao Zhan left. He seemed to be quite carefree. He even picked a melon from the plantation and brought it back. Luo Xiaobai took the brocade pouch, opened it, and her face changed. Finally, she silently handed the brocade pouch to Han Fei. Han Fei took a look. It read, Suppressing his cultivation level to that of a peak-level fishing master, he concentrated on the plantation, practicing basic skills for a year. 1 year in the level 3 fishery. After they saw the brocade pouch, they couldn't help but frown. Zhang Xuanyu was puzzled. Practice basic skills. Xia Xiaochan asked, What if I make a breakthrough? Luo Xiaobai shook her head. Since this was the 4th brocade pouch, it would definitely be more difficult than the previous 3. Therefore, there must be a deeper meaning behind this. Lu Renquang scratched his head. Anyway, I can't figure out what the deeper meaning is. Fei, can you figure it out? Han Fei chuckled. I'm too lazy to think about it. I have a headache now. How can I farm 100,000 acres of land? Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei's shoulder and said with mixed feelings, Fei, this is the land you farmed. I'll give you a chance to be the captain. This time, you will command. Han Fei raised his eyelids. Are you serious? Luo Xiaobai also nodded. I agree. I really don't know how to farm. Han Fei chuckled. Okay, that's what you said? Xia Xiaochan asked suspiciously, What are you going to do? Do you have any bad ideas? Han Fei snapped his fingers smugly. What bad ideas can I have? I'm the chief commander. I have to coordinate the overall situation. Xia Xiaochan immediately glared at him. Do you want to command but not work? Han Fei looked at Xia Xiaochan's dagger. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Do I look like that kind of person? Xia Xiaochan glared. Yes. Zhang Xuanyu echoed. No wonder I had a bad feeling just now. It turns out that you want to slack off. Han Fei quickly interrupted. Zhang Xuanyu, be responsible for your words. I'll be the one watering the plantation of 100,000 acres. Lu Renquang muttered. But you can't always slack off. How can we manage 100,000 acres of land? Han Fei waved to a member of the fish dragons, and then a level 9 fisher ran over eagerly. Young master, what can I do for you? Han Fei said, Arrange dozens of people to measure the entire plantation. By the way, get me some paper and pens. The gang member's face turned green. Damn, dozens of people to measure 100,000 acres of land? Han Fei casually threw out dozens of phantom fish and said, They're very nutritious. Enough for all of you to become fishing masters. The man perked up. No problem. Don't worry, young master. It'll only take me 3 days to get it done. Han Fei nodded in satisfaction. Arrange some people to pick all types of spiritual fruits and spiritual plants in the plantation and mark their locations on the map. Remember, don't leave any behind. Yes, young master. Zhang Xuanyu looked at the leaving members of the fish dragons dumbfoundedly. That's it? Han Fei put on a weird smile, and he was immediately possessed by a genius. Han Fei said confidently, if a worker wants to do a good job, he must first sharpen his tools. Is 100,000 acres large? Not really. What we need to do is to divide tens of thousands of spiritual plants in such a large area, but this is obviously not enough. So, I decided to cut off the ones we don't need and keep the ones we do need. In this way, we can expand the planting range and reduce the types of spiritual plants. With the cooperation of Xiaobai and Chu Jinan, it'll be done in a month. Everyone? Lu Renkuang scratched his head. You don't understand? Zhang Xuanyu asked. I understand. You want to reduce production. Xia Xiaochan asked. So, don't we still have to farm? Luo Xiaobai nodded. Although there are some things I don't quite understand, I agree. Han Fei said proudly, what do you know? Do you know that I can save 11 months of time by planning this for all of you? In the next 11 months, we'll be able to sleep soundly. Everyone? Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were both dumbfounded. We don't know, and we dare not ask. Anyway, we just do what senior brother said, in the distance, at the school gate. Old Bai frowned and said, no. This kid's brain is pretty good. It won't have the effect of nourishing his mind. Wenren said lightly, don't worry. They just want to be lazy. Didn't the fish dragons make a lot of money recently and want to expand? There are plenty of things for them to do later. Xiao Zhan scratched his head. What's wrong with Han Fei's brain? Although I don't know what he's going to do, he seems to be very smart. Old Bai snorted. Smart. Later, ask Han Fei to plow the land and give spiritual energy to Zhang Xuanyu. Ask the little fatty to trim the flowers and leaves with his combat skills. And ask Xia Xiaochan to be responsible for picking the plantation. As for Luo Xiaobai, she is a manipulator. In the early stage of planning the plantation, she will contribute a lot. Wenren Yu nodded. In this way, everyone's abilities can be trained. Xiao Zhan asked, what about Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan? Old Bai chuckled. It's up to them. Do you think they are stupid? Do they really want to take care of their junior brothers and sisters? 1 month later, the plantation of the Thug Academy had become a rectangular array, and there was a wooden sign on the edge of each field, on which the name of the spiritual plant was written. In the field, there was a gully inside and outside, and there was a path in the middle for easy walking. In the center of the plantation, on the training ground the size of 3 or 4 football fields, a mantis shrimp lay on the ground in boredom, its 9 tails wagging on the ground. Among them, 2 tails were waving in the air, cutting through the void and whipping a boy and a girl. Ling Yuan raised her shield in front of Chu Jinan, and the next moment, the 2 of them were slapped away at the same time. They didn't know how many times they had been slapped away. During this period, their strength had improved rapidly. During the day, they fought with the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and went back to absorb spiritual energy at night. Ling Yuan pulled Chu Jinan and said, your sea god grass can't control its tail at all. Also, the combat skills that senior brother Han Fei taught you are not flexible enough. You could have dodged it just now. Chu Jinan blushed slightly. I wanted to entangle it with the sea god grass, but I was a step too late. I won't do it next time. Ling Yuan shook her head. You can't control it? It has 9 tails. And it's so powerful. You've experienced it before. If senior brother Han Fei hadn't allowed it to use only 2 tails, we would have been killed. Ring, ring, ring. With a swish, the 2 passed by the training ground, and Han Fei shouted, Chu Jinan, why did you fail again? You have 1 month to make your physique reach the peak of a junior fishing master. Chu Jinan, this was the first time he and Ling Yuan had seen Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan pass by. Ling Yuan sighed. Senior sister Xiaobai will be here soon. Sure enough, after a while. Ring, ring. Luo Xiaobai slowly walked out of the ground and looked at the 2 of them. Have you seen Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan? Ling Yuan blinked her eyes. The 2 of them just ran away with a green striped fruit. I don't know where they went. Luo Xiaobai's face was black. These 2 bastards, they're stealing food again. In just 1 month, hundreds of kinds of spiritual fruits had been eaten to extinction by the two of them. Fortunately, Lu Renquang and Zhang Xuanyu went to the level 2 fishery. Otherwise, thousands of kinds of spiritual fruits would have been extinct. Mobile phones. Chapter 290. Ever since the fish dragons gained a foothold in the Blue Sea town, they gradually led the trend of food in the town. Fish dragon barbecue stalls, fish dragon hot pot restaurants, as well as fish dragon buffet restaurants and fish dragon mahjong houses, had opened more than 100 stores in the Blue Sea town. The members of the fish dragons gradually changed from fishermen to fishing masters and even great fishing masters. With Han Fei's help, Li Gang became a fishing master too. Of course, he was just an ordinary one. After all, he advanced with the spiritual energy of rare fish and didn't have a solid foundation. So, in terms of combat skills, they were definitely not good enough. But what did the fish dragons need now? Not thugs, but a group of loyal and reliable entrepreneurs. At this moment, Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were hiding in an exclusive private room of the Fish Dragon Buffet restaurant. Han Fei was cutting a watermelon and said with a smile, "Hey, this is the last watermelon. I've saved the seeds. I'll plant them on a piece of land next year." Xia Shaochan took a bite of the watermelon and said in a daze, "I envy Lu Renquang and the others so much." Han Fei said in disdain, "What fun can there be in the level 2 fishery? They're just leftovers. At most, the two of them will go and explore some ordinary danger zones." Xia Shaochan held her chin with one hand. "That's still better than farming. It's been a month. It's been so hard." Han Fei picked up a piece of watermelon and took a bite. "Just do it. I have to gather spiritual energy and fertilize the land one by one. It's too hard for me." Xia Shaochan glanced at Han Fei in disdain. "Don't think I don't know that you've been studying a bunch of spirit-gathering arrays in the library. You don't intend to fertilize it all. You want to transform the entire plantation into an enormous spirit-gathering array." At this moment, Li Gang came with a couple of people with snacks. "Young master, it's been a long time since you last visited. You have no idea how complicated the management of the fish dragons is. Even I'm having a hard time managing them." Han Fei patted Li Gang's belly and said angrily, "Look at you. You've put on weight again. I'm told that little Red is pregnant?" At the mention of this, Lian Ang's expression immediately brightened. His face flushed as he said, "It's all thanks to you, young master. If it wasn't for young master, how could Gang Zi be where he is today?" Gang Zi's respect for young master? Han Fei quickly waved his hand. So, how's the thing I asked you to prepare?" Lian Ang's expression changed slightly, and he said with expectation in his eyes, "Young master, the 5th academy in the Heavenly Water Village has been built. We'll listen to you and only recruit talented students and the children of our gang. Provide them with the best resources and teach them only mysterious level and spirit level combat skills. In less than 10 years, our fish dragons will definitely have a great fishing master." Han Fei nodded. "Take the money from the gang. In addition, you have to work hard on your own. With your current strength, you really won't be able to hold the fort in the future." Yes, young master, please enjoy your meal." After Li Gang left, Xia Shaochan looked at Han Fei curiously. "You seem to treat your subordinates quite well. You've earned so much money, but you don't need it for yourself. Why are you keeping it?" Han Fei smiled. "What do you think you can buy with mid-quality pearls?" Xia Shaochan said, "A lot of things. You can buy everything in the Linglong Tower." Han Fei was disdainful. "Silly girl, do you really think that everything in the Linglong Tower is good? Most of the things there are abandoned, and the best ones are spiritual weapons. As for combat skills, they can't compare to the library in our school." Han Fei said unhurriedly, "Let me tell you, you have to be far-sighted. I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Firstly, I'm giving back to the Heavenly Water Village, and secondly, I'm leaving a way out for myself. Our school has a big secret. It used to be as glorious as it is now. If something happens again, I can at least leave a way out for us, can't I?" Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. "The fish dragons? If the Thug Academy is gone, the fish dragons will be occupied immediately. There's no way out for us. Han Fei said with a smile, "You don't understand. Even ants have a way to survive. Otherwise, wouldn't the white fish and yellow fish in the ocean have been extinct if they're only fist-sized?" Xia Xiaochan said, "Yellow fish don't have fists." Han Fei. 2 months later, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang returned, and Luo Xiaobai and Xia Xiaochan went out. Only Han Fei often wandered in the plantation with a lot of books in his arms. Sometimes he would squat on the ground and draw pictures, looking nervous. Half a year later, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan advanced to be advanced fishing masters one after another. Now the two of them could already resist the attack of the nine-tailed mantis shrimp's four tails. Although they were a bit embarrassed, they finally blocked the attack. On a certain day 10 months later, Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were resting when they suddenly felt that the entire plantation was surging with spiritual energy. Spiritual energy that could topple mountains and overturn seas swarmed over. Chu Jinan exclaimed, "Did senior brother succeed?" Ling Yuan found it incredible. "Is there such a large spirit gathering formation? How did he do it?" In the school, Wenren Yu and Xiao Zhan came to the school gate one after another. Feeling the spiritual energy swarming in from all directions, they couldn't help but feel shocked. Wenren Yu said in surprise, "Such a large spirit gathering formation? That's impossible." Xiao Zhan licked his lips and said, "That kid seems to have succeeded." Old Bai grunted and slowly got up. "Let's go and have a look." The three of them stood in the air and looked down from the sky. They were surprised to find that in the huge plantation, there were nearly 100 strange patterns. Some patterns were like a fish, some were many circles, and some even looked like fishing rods. Old Bai exclaimed in surprise. He didn't engrave a spirit gathering formation on it, but carved it in these patterns. Then, these patterns and patterns are attracted to each other, forming a natural spirit gathering formation? Wenren Yu nodded. "Although I don't understand it, it's very good. The spiritual energy in the entire plantation is more than 3 times higher than before." At the same time, because of the massive spiritual energy gathering in the plantation, the turbulence even attracted the attention of the entire Blue Sea town. A large number of people gathered, and many strong masters hung in the sky. Including the presidents of the 3 academies and the mayor, they all stopped and looked thoughtful. Han Fei was bragging to Xia Xiaochan and the others. Han Fei said smugly, "I knew you couldn't understand it. This is called a crop circle. Ba. This is called a plantation circle. I used 108 patterns to form a large array. Once the large array is completed, it can be used for at least 10 years. Isn't it awesome?" Pa. Everyone was dumbfounded. "Even we can't understand it. Why are you showing off?" Han Fei laughed. "Okay, now it's my turn to play in the sea. You can be jealous." Xia Xiaochan nodded. "I'll go with you." At this moment, Wenren Yu's voice sounded. "Take Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan with you." Han Fei was speechless. Why did they go out with only 2 people? Why did I have to take 3 burdens with me? Yes, in Han Fei's eyes, Xia Xiaochan was also a burden. This was not a person who could save themselves from trouble. Old Bai landed in front of the 3 of them and pointed to the plantation. "Did you study it independently?" Han Fei's eyes lit up. "You know my stuff. I combined the idea of the crop circle with old Zhang's spirit gathering scripture, and it took me nearly a year to develop it." In the past 10 months, he had studied at least dozens of arrays. Although he hadn't figured out the other arrays yet, he believed that he had deduced the spirit gathering array to the peak. Han Fei grinned. "Not that I'm bragging, but no one else in the Blue Sea town can build such a large spirit gathering array." Old Bai slapped Han Fei on the head. "Stop bragging. A really powerful spirit gatherer can build it in 3 days at most. You've been working on it for 10 months and you're still bragging?" Dumbfounded, Han Fei exclaimed, "That's impossible. My array is interconnected. How can it be built in 3 days? President, tell me. I promise I won't beat him to death." Old Bai sneered. "Do you think I'm kidding? Fuck off. Don't brag anymore. Otherwise, Don't tell anyone that you are a student of the Thug Academy. Lu Renquang was speechless. He blew up again. Zhang Xuanyu got up and patted the mud on his butt. I knew it. You fooled me. So you were just bragging. Han Fei blushed and covered his face, shouting as he walked, Come on, let's go to the fishery. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan were both stunned for a while before they realized what was going on and hurriedly chased after Han Fei. Xia Xiaochan was not so anxious. After Han Fei left, she asked, President, is there really someone who can build such a large spirit gathering array in 3 days? Old Bai touched his beard and nodded. Yes, there must be someone. I know a spirit gatherer at the level of law enforcer. Pooh! Everyone staggered. President, are you fucking kidding us? Wenren Yu and Xiao Zhan also looked at Old Bai in surprise. This is too much. Why don't you compare him to a venerable? Zhang Xuanyu swallowed. We must not tell Han Fei about this. Well, just tell him that he is still weak. Xia Xiaochan stuck out her tongue. Is Han Fei really so talented as a spirit gatherer? Chapter 291. The Level 2 Fishery. The sunlight was dazzling on the surface of the sea. The waves were covered in a layer of golden light by the sunlight. It was a spectacular sight. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan had been in the Level 2 fishery for nearly 2 months. Because he took Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan with him, Han Fei couldn't explore any dangerous places. Of course, Xia Xiaochan discovered the weirdness of this water before she did anything. The water temperature here was rather cold, as if there was something extremely cold. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan was sitting on the back of the giant arowana and swinging her feet in the water. Not far away from her, a large patch of seaweed lay flat on the surface of the sea. These seaweeds sometimes changed into nets and spears, entangling a few ironhead fish from time to time. On that patch of seaweed, Ling Yuan was fighting a lobster with 2 swords in her hands. The swords clashed with the lobster's claws, causing loud clanging noises. Xia Xiaochan kicked the water and shouted, Ling Yuan, you are an armorist, not a soul warrior. You can control swords, but don't use them. And Chu Jinan, do you want to farm in the sea with such a large area of seaweed? The main purpose of the manipulator is to move. Ji the enemy? What happened? You've actually provided the enemy with a favorable fighting environment. As soon as Xia Xiaochan's voice fell, the large area of seaweed suddenly gathered in the middle and then spread to the big lobster. Soon, the lobster was almost covered by seaweed. The lobster tried its best to break free, but the seaweed was so tough that its joints were stuck. Ding ding ding. Dozens of long swords flew out of Ling Yuan's armor box and attacked a corner of the big lobster's head, killing it. A moment later, the seaweed converged and transformed. In shape. Chu Jinan scratched his head in embarrassment. Senior sister, Xia Xiaochan waved her hand and said, Go cook on the fishing boat. I'm going to the bottom of the sea to see what Han Fei is doing. Han Fei found a gathering place of mantis shrimp in the Level 2 fishery. This was a seabed densely covered with sand and rocks. There were countless large holes in the sand at the bottom of the seabed. Whenever a school of fish passed by and looked for food in the sand at the bottom of the sea, a long figure would always emerge from a big hole, which was exactly the same kind as the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. At this moment, in a certain cave, sand was flying and smoke was billowing. Bang! The shrimp hole collapsed, and 2 giant mantis shrimps were stuck face to face. The scene was indescribable. Han Fei said gloomily, 9-tailed mantis shrimp, enough. I've been watching for a long time, and you're still not done? The 9-tailed mantis shrimp waved its tail in the water and wanted to rub against him, but it was kicked away by Han Fei. I'll give you another 100 seconds. If you don't finish, I'll braise mantis shrimp. Suddenly, Han Fei turned his head to the side, only to see Xia Xiaochan staring at the 9-tailed mantis shrimp rolling in the sand and then at Han Fei, dumbfounded. Han Fei blushed. Actually, I just brought the 9-tailed mantis shrimp here to find a girlfriend. It will be over soon. Xia Xiaochan said gloomily, You guys are disgusting. Han Fei was speechless. Why are we the only ones who are disgusting? It's the 9-tailed mantis shrimp that is too disgusting. Yes, this guy must have been single for too long. Then, Han Fei punched out angrily. In a shrimp hole next to him, a mantis shrimp ran out angrily, followed by a big seal the size of a hill. After a while, Han Fei dragged a 3 or 4 meter long mantis shrimp directly to the boat. He couldn't stay any longer. He was too ashamed. On the boat, Xia Xiaochan and the other two were dumbfounded to see Han Fei come back with a mantis shrimp. Was he going to eat a mantis shrimp in front of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp? Wasn't that inappropriate? Han Fei snorted. You guys do it. The mantis shrimp tastes better. Ling Yuan, peel the shell. After a while, the 9-tailed mantis shrimp came back. As soon as he saw a pile of mantis shrimp shells on the boat, he immediately lowered his head and hid to the side, shivering all over. Chu Jinan said, "Senior brother, why don't you take back the shrimp? 9 tails?" Han Fei snorted. No, let it watch. The 9-tailed mantis shrimp secretly raised his eyes and glanced at Han Fei, thinking, "Dumbest master is too scary. I'm just going to find a girlfriend. Do you have to go that far?" Xia Xiaochan didn't care. She picked up a large piece of lobster meat and stuffed it into her mouth. After eating for a long time, she said slowly, "Shall we go back tomorrow?" "Well, I haven't found the place you said anyway. Let's go back." With that, Han Fei looked at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. "Are you two ready to become great fishing masters?" Chu Jinan shook his head. "Senior brother, I feel that my physique is still a little weak." Han Fei waved his hand. "You can make the breakthrough now. Your physique is already comparable to that of a normal peak-level fishing master. You're on the same starting line as them. If you want to break through again, that's a matter of opportunity. We won't help you find it." Ling Yuan nodded. "Thank you, senior brother and senior sister." The two of them had long wanted to break through. Hearing this, he immediately began his breakthrough. In the eyes of others, this seemed to be an impossible matter. But in the eyes of Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, it was a matter of course. If you're in this situation, with the help of spiritual fish, you can't become a great fishing master within a year. How can you be called a genius if you can't break through to become a great fishing master within a year? Although everyone had been playing crazily in the past year, they had done everything they needed to do. Lu Renquang could now control a terrifying number of weapons, which was probably comparable to Li Hani's. After all, it was not a simple thing to trim branches and leaves with torrents of knives and swords. Luo Xiaobai also discovered a new ability of hers. She could actually attach herself to spiritual plants and shuttle among them, which was simply a divine skill. Zhang Xuanyu was the most diligent one in the sea. According to him, it was because he deduced the 2 combat skills, Furious Sea 9-layered rods and Furious Sea waves. He wanted to practice in the sea for a while. What was more intriguing was that these 2 combat skills were both created by him. Xia Xiaochan was even more amazing. In this year during the event, she spent as much as half a year in the sea. Her heaven-level movement technique, roaming technique, was very good. In terms of speed, she was undoubtedly the fastest among the group of people. Even if Han Fei was attached to Little Gold and used the shadow swimming art, it was not easy for him to catch her. As for Han Fei himself, after a year of cultivation, his greatest achievement was in arrays. He had copied the spirit-gathering scripture left by old Jiang from beginning to end. Although he had only mastered the spirit-gathering formation among these large-scale formations, he was still able to use it. However, it wasn't like he didn't gain anything from other types of formations. It could be said that he had roughly learned all of the numerous small array formations in the book. For example, spirit-trapping arrays, spiritual energy barriers, stealth arrays, breath-concealing arrays, spirit explosion arrays, etc., covering no less than 30 types. Of course, these small arrays would not make Han Fei stronger, but they would make him an all-rounder. Outside the array, the energy in Han Fei's body was basically digested. Although his strength had not been improved, his indestructible body had been improved. Not only was his skin thicker, but his internal organs were also tougher. Making a breakthrough on the sea was definitely a dangerous thing, especially for novices like Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. Of course, with Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan here, they were not afraid. Han Fei kicked the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Go, kill all the fish that try to approach. Xia Xiaochan curled her lips. It's really miserable to be your spiritual beast. Han Fei sneered. You don't know how happy it was just now. Frowning, Xia Xiaochan asked, We've been here for 2 months. Why don't you catch a contractual spiritual beast for them? Han Fei was helpless. Then should we help them cultivate and become dangling fishers? To become dangling fishers? Some things can be helped, but some things have to be done by themselves. When the 5 of us went to catch exotic contractual spiritual beasts, although Little White led the way, didn't the 5 of us catch them together in the end? Xia Xiaochan thought for a while. That's right. Let's leave the marked map to them and let them find it by themselves. Han Fei nodded indifferently. When we go back this time, we will go to the level 3 fishery. Is it in the level 3 fishery? Xia Xiaochan stretched out. I've been bored to death for a whole year. With that, Xia Xiaochan stood on the deck and fell into the sea on her back. Lying on the sea, she said cheerfully, The sea is so fun. Farming? It's not suitable for me. Han Fei said, Come up. It's almost time for dinner. Why are you still running into the water? Xia Xiaochan said, Let's make a breakthrough too. If I'm not mistaken, Little White and the others should have all become dangling fishers by now. In the next second, Xia Xiaochan flashed and appeared next to the hot pot, which made Han Fei speechless. Is teleportation a big deal? Can you do whatever you want just because you can teleport? Xia Xiaochan said helplessly, I don't know why, but I feel that I can't use up my spiritual energy recently, so I want to use some. Han Fei was speechless. Is she showing off? At this moment, spiritual energy suddenly surged from Xia Xiaochan's body. Accompanied by spiritual energy, there was even a trace of red light. In an instant, Han Fei's face changed greatly and he stood up with a swish. Not good. Why did she suddenly have an attack? Cell phone website. Chapter 292. Han Fei felt that his blood was freezing. Why did she have an attack at this moment? What the hell is wrong with her? Xia Xiaochan was still smiling a second ago, but her eyes turned red the next second. But to Han Fei's surprise, Xia Xiaochan didn't attack him but flashed 100 meters away. Then she rushed directly to the bottom of the sea. Han Fei's face changed greatly and he immediately shouted, Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, protect them. Little Gold, attach. With a swish, Han Fei rushed into the water, only to see a red shadow flashing in the distance. Xiaoshan, wait. He had to admit that the speed of the two was so fast that they could definitely stun ordinary great fishing masters. Xia Xiaochan was a hunter and was known for her dexterity and speed. With a heaven-level roaming art, she was like a red lightning bolt in the ocean. Although Han Fei's shadow roaming art was only demon level, its quality had reached divine quality. Plus Little Gold's super speed, he was the only one who could catch up with Xia Xiaochan. The two of them, one in front and one behind, blasted through many schools of fish wherever they went. Along the way, countless fish rolled in the water. When they came to their senses, Han Fei and Little Gold were already gone. But after only half an hour, Han Fei suddenly stopped because Xia Xiaochan disappeared. Did she become invisible? Han Fei's face was solemn. It shouldn't be. When Xia Xiaochan had an attack, she would usually go on a killing spree. She wouldn't go invisible at all. But now, he actually lost her? Han Fei looked around and found something wrong. This place seemed to be a slightly dangerous treasure trove in the level 2 fishery. Zhang Xuanyu had marked it on the fish skin handbook. However, everyone felt that the opportunities here were not great, so they didn't come. But at this moment, Han Fei felt that the spiritual energy here was denser and the water temperature was much colder. Around him, a school of dragonhead fish happened to swim by. At this moment, seeing Han Fei, hundreds of dragonhead fish rushed at him. Han Fei's face was all black. Han Fei flapped his wings, shook off these dragonhead fish, and dived into the water. A moment later, Han Fei saw several three-headed sea snakes that had been chopped into pieces at the bottom of the sea. Immediately, his eyes narrowed. Xia Xiaochan had been here. Following the wreckage that appeared along the way, Han Fei miraculously found the entrance to an underground cave. This was a dangerous area full of Buddha's tentacles. Just like the shipwreck that Jiang Qin took him to the ordinary fishery to find, this place was also enchanted with illusions. Moreover, the person who created the environment had placed the entrance in the Buddha hand's tentacles. How could an ordinary person find it? If Xia Xiaochan hadn't cut off most of the Buddha's hands, he wouldn't have been able to find them. However, Han Fei wondered how Xia Xiaochan knew that there was an underground entrance here. Also, he vaguely sensed coldness from the entrance. He felt that there must be something cold in this underground cave. Han Fei rushed into the underground cave without hesitation. As soon as he entered, he felt the temperature drop by dozens of degrees. After descending less than 20 meters, the temperature was already below zero. When Han Fei landed on the ground of the cave, he found that there were plants growing here. However, most of these plants were ice blue. Near the plants, there were many fine ice crystals. Han Fei found it amazing that water would freeze at 0 degrees. Even if the salinity of the seawater was high, there was still a freezing point, just a few degrees below zero. But this didn't mean that the seawater wouldn't freeze. Wait, the spiritual energy here is very abundant. Does the spiritual energy affect the freezing point? Han Fei picked up a piece of ice crystal, crushed it slightly, felt the temperature, and then looked around. There seemed to be a large piece of ice a kilometer away. Han Fei moved his feet and quickly approached, only to find that Xia Xiaochan was lying on a huge piece of ice that was thousands of meters long and wide. If that was the case, it wouldn't be a big deal. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan's body was filled with red light, and the heat she emitted was comparable to that of magma. Although the ice in front of her was very cold, Xia Xiaochan had already formed a human shape on it at this moment. Han Fei subconsciously touched the ice, only to retract his hand in an instant. This temperature was comparable to that of the blue sea wandering dragon bone. Han Fei said to her via voice transmission, "Xia Xiaochan, can you hear me?" As soon as Han Fei said this, Xia Xiaochan suddenly opened her eyes, which were full of red light. In the blink of an eye, Xia Xiaochan was gone, and Han Fei hurriedly drew his knife to block her. Sure enough, Xia Xiaochan appeared behind Han Fei. The dagger in her hand cut Han Fei's body. Xia Xiaochan shouldn't be Han Fei's opponent now. But at this moment, Xia Xiaochan was like a high-temperature heat source, and behind Han Fei was a big iceberg. He was sandwiched in the middle. That sour feeling. It was not an exaggeration at all. Precisely because of this, Han Fei's movements were a beat slower and he directly hit the iceberg. The surface of Han Fei's body was freezing at a speed visible to the naked eye, but he didn't care so much. Xia Xiaochan stabbed at him again. At this moment, she was unconscious, and Han Fei didn't dare to be careless. Clang, 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 a scuffle broke out. Han Fei was beaten to the iceberg for a while, and Xia Xiaochan was thrown to the iceberg. These two people actually directly hit a perfectly good ice mountain, causing it to be full of cracks, and the ice surface to be filled with holes of various sizes. Of course, from the beginning to the end, Han Fei was more on the defensive. Therefore, in this battle, he couldn't escape the fate of being crushed from the beginning to the end. At this time, the two of them had fought their way into the iceberg from the outside. The extremely hard iceberg was abruptly dug out by the two of them. Han Fei was speechless. What the hell is wrong with this girl? His illness was way too serious. Her combat power had been improved by 2 levels. However, Han Fei seemed to have guessed Xia Xiaochan's intention. She seemed to want to use the coldness of the iceberg to cool down the strange high temperature bursting out of her body. Therefore, Han Fei kept digging holes, causing the two of them to fight deeper and deeper, until the holes were filled with seawater again and began to condense again. Han Fei didn't know how long he had been digging. Anyway, in the narrow space, he was stabbed thousands of times, and the divine healing technique was constantly cast on his body. Suddenly, Han Fei felt a shiver all over, and the temperatures suddenly dropped again. He turned his head and found a blue stone embedded in the iceberg. Holy shit! What is this? Han Fei's body was instantly covered with a layer of ice, and his movements began to slow down. On the other hand, the red light on Xia Xiaochan's body weakened a little, but she seemed to be fine and continued to attack Han Fei. At the last moment, the only thing Han Fei could do was to use Forge the Universe to drain the surrounding seawater and leave an appropriate amount of air. One day later, Xia Xiaochan was woken up by the cold. She wanted to open her eyes, only to find that she couldn't even open her eyelids. Because it was too cold, she immediately fused with the red fire tricky shrimp. During the fusion, Xia Xiaochan was stunned. Her strength had improved a lot. Had she become a dangling fisher? When did she make the breakthrough? Then, the ice melted slightly. She struggled to open her eyes, only to find that Han Fei was holding her hands against the wall in the posture of bang. Of course, Han Fei was a human-shaped ice sculpture at this moment, and his whole body was frozen into a stone. Bim! The flames roared, and Xia Xiaochan struggled to break part of the ice, but she found that Han Fei was still in the posture of bang, embedded in the ice, and Han Fei's speechless expression was still frozen on his face. Explode! Xia Xiaochan let out a shout, shattering the ice on the two of them. However, in the next second, a scream came out. The ice was broken, but the two people's clothes were also broken. Not only that, the ice on the surface of Han Fei's body was broken, but his body was still stiff, still in the posture of bang. However, Han Fei's eyeballs trembled several times. In the next moment, he pretended that he hadn't come to himself, and his eyeballs didn't move at all. Smack! Han Fei was slapped so hard that his mouth was crooked. Han Fei was furious. "Why did you hit me?" Xia Xiaochan shouted, "Don't look! Give me the clothes!" At this moment, Xia Xiaochan was burning all over, trying to cover her body with flames. Han Fei looked up. "I didn't see anything. You found this place yourself." Then Han Fei grabbed 2 sets of clothes from Forge the Universe. However, in the next moment, the clothes first burned and then froze. In just a moment, they were frozen into ice. Han Fei, Xia Xiaochan, Han Fei said, "Wait, it's all because of that stone. You were having an attack yesterday, and I didn't have time to pick that stone." In a space with a radius of less than 1 square meter, Han Fei breathed quickly and turned his head to point at a blue stone in the ice 100 meters away. Xia Xiaochan blushed. "Close your eyes. Don't open them." Cell phone site. Chapter 293. Han Fei snorted and thought to himself, "I've seen it all. I don't mind closing my eyes." After a while, Han Fei felt the flames burning, and Xia Xiaochan seemed to be trying her best to open the channel. But when she reached out to grab the stone, she suddenly let out a loud cry. Han Fei quickly opened his eyes, only to see that one of Xia Xiaochan's hands had been frozen into ice, and the surface of her body was also quickly freezing. Her body was turning into an ice sculpture at a speed visible to the naked eye. Shocked, Han Fei quickly flashed to Xia Xiaochan's side and reached out to the blue stone. However, he was almost no different from Xia Xiaochan. As soon as his fingers touched it, his whole body froze. At that moment, he felt that his hand was almost crippled. "Come back!" Fortunately, a second before Han Fei was about to become an ice sculpture, the blue stone was collected into Forge the Universe. Of course, the result was that Forge the Universe became a world of ice and snow. Apart from the Spirit Spring, everything else was frozen into ice. Outside, Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan stared at each other like 2 ice sculptures. Xia Xiaochan's body was burning with flames, and it took her several minutes to melt all the ice on the surface of her body. After melting, Xia Xiaochan flashed to Han Fei's back. "Don't look back. Take out another set of clothes." Han Fei was speechless. Fortunately, they had a lot of clothes. Otherwise, he really couldn't take them out now. And in this iceberg, without the blue stone, the temperature was not so cold. Although their clothes were also covered with a layer of frost, they were not frozen into pieces. After a moment, outside the iceberg, neither Xia Xiaochan nor Han Fei spoke, and the atmosphere seemed to be a little subtle. After a long while, Xia Xiaochan suddenly said, "Don't tell anyone about this. Don't tell anyone. Keep that stone for yourself. Don't take it out again." Han Fei was helpless. What if you lose control again? You were like a fireball just now, and this iceberg was almost melted by you. Xia Shaochan blushed. That won't do. Then give me that stone and go away. Han Fei muttered, Hey, it's not a big deal. I'm underage. Pooh. In the next second, Han Fei was stabbed. However, this slash surprised both of them. The show pierced through Han Fei's flesh by 2 inches. Well, are you trying to murder your husband? Xia Shaochan glared at him angrily. Shut up. You've already passed your coming-of-age ceremony. I didn't mean it. Han Fei was speechless. That made sense. Due to the rapid depletion of the population in this world, most people matured early. 12 years old was considered an adult. Now that they were all 14 years old, they couldn't be considered children anymore. Han Fei's face changed slightly. When did you make the breakthrough? Xia Shaochan shook her head slightly. I made a breakthrough after I woke up. Han Fei quickly cast the divine healing technique on himself. Don't stab me yet. No, you go back first. I'm going to that small mystic realm to make a breakthrough. Xia Shaochan froze for a moment. Then I'll wait for you outside. What are you waiting for? Go back and bring them here. Don't let anything happen to them. There are no enemies in this little mystic realm, so there's no danger. Xia Shaochan hesitated for a moment and didn't refute. After several awkward contacts with Han Fei, she was a little dazed. At this moment, she really obeyed and went back. Han Fei went into the small mystic realm just now, sat cross-legged, and quickly made a breakthrough. Han Fei panicked. He couldn't believe that he couldn't stop Xia Shaochan. What should he do? His indestructible body couldn't even stop her dagger. Han Fei complained in his heart, what the hell is this indestructible body? Even this can't stop her. It seems that I'm still too weak. I can't even stop her. 1 hour later, there was a click sound. The spiritual spring in Forge the Universe was rapidly decreasing. Han Fei felt that his body was expanding, his meridians were broadened, and there was a layer of crystal on his flesh and bones. His physical strength was increasing at an incredible speed. However, when Han Fei broke through to the dangling fisher realm this time, he felt that the consumption of spiritual energy suddenly increased. When he was a great fishing master, he had calculated that on average, 500,000 points of spiritual energy could help him advance by a small level. But this time, a small level required 500,000 points of spiritual energy, and a small level consumed nearly 1.5 million points of spiritual energy. And this didn't include the million points of spiritual energy consumed during the breakthrough. Adding them all up, he had consumed more than 2.5 million points of spiritual energy to break through to the dangling fisher realm this time. Han Fei swallowed subconsciously. Cultivation seems to be getting more and more difficult. According to the spiritual energy intake of the 3rd level of void fishing, theoretically, it would take him a full 5 years to break through from the dangling fisher realm to the hanging fisher realm. And this was in the case of hard cultivation every day. If it were like him, wouldn't it take 7 or 8 years? Han Fei hurriedly glanced at the spiritual spring in Forge the Universe. There was a small half of the river, but now there was only less than a foot deep. He was afraid that the total amount of spiritual energy was less than 5 million points. Han Fei almost burst into tears. Back then, there was so much spiritual spring that Forge the Universe could be filled. It had only been a year, but there was only so little left. These were not enough to deduce the 4th level of the void fishing art. After another 2 hours, Han Fei finally stabilized his realm. Under the accumulation of a large amount of spiritual energy, his physique was slightly improved. Han Fei tried to take out the rod that he pulled off the rock-holding turtle. This time, the rod was much lighter. If it was in the past, holding the stick in his hand would be like holding a small mountain, but now, it was like holding a small mountain. At this moment, he could only hold a boulder at most. Han Fei even tried to play a set of rod techniques with it. When the rod fell to the ground, even the ground cracked. Not bad. I can carry it, but it's a bit slow and not smooth enough. It would be great if it could be lighter. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan ran in from outside. Seeing Han Fei holding the rod, she was slightly taken aback. Is this that rod? Seeing that Han Fei was fine, she immediately fixed her eyes on the rod in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei nodded. I just tried it. Xia Xiaochan asked, Can I try it? Han Fei stretched out his hand and loosened it. Xia Xiaochan took it, but then her face changed. She hugged the rod with her whole body, but she was still pressed to the ground. Xia Xiaochan hurriedly said, Take it away, take it away. Han Fei picked up the rod, shook it slightly, and threw it into Forge the Universe. This rod is a bit heavy. It's good for smashing people, but not good for fighting. Why did you come down? Xia Xiaochan dodged his eyes. Can I come down and have a look? Let me stab you again. Han Fei was amused. Xia Xiaochan, let's stop. I'm not playing with you. With that, Xia Xiaochan stabbed him with the knife. The strength of this stab was about the same as the previous one, but this time it could only stab less than an inch into Han Fei's body. Han Fei grinned. Although I can heal myself, it hurts. Xia Xiaochan rolled her eyes at him. You deserve it. On the fishing boat. After Han Fei came up, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp ran over and rubbed its hard head against Han Fei's calf. Han Fei kicked it away and looked at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan. Hey, you've both made a breakthrough. Ling Yuan blinked her eyes and looked at Han Fei. Congratulations, senior brother Han Fei. You've become a dangling fisher. Han Fei smiled. A dangling fisher? He still remembered the scene when the five of them worked together to fight against Xiao Zhan. A dangling fisher could press 5 genius great fishing masters to the ground. But now he had also become a dangling fisher. Xia Xiaochan sat on the top of the boat and shouted, Take off. Let's go back to school. Chu Jinan quickly ran to control the fishing boat, and Han Fei no longer fiddled with the hot pot. He also climbed to the top of the boat, glanced at Xia Xiaochan, and asked her via voice transmission, Will you still have an attack after becoming a dangling fisher? Xia Xiaochan tilted her head and glanced at Han Fei. Do you want me to have an attack? Han Fei quickly waved his hand. Of course not. I'm afraid that if you have an attack again, I may not be able to withstand your stab. Xia Xiaochan smiled. That's great. Han Fei, at the same time. Chapter 294. The Thug Academy. When Han Fei and the others came back, they found that the plantation was in full swing. Far away, they heard Zhang Xuanyu shouting, Dan. Then Lu Renkuang also shouted, Wang Bang. Han Fei and the others? Walking into the plantation, they saw Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Renkuang, and 2 girls playing cards. Han Fei even knew one of them. It was Karen who was taken away by Zhang Xuanyu. At this time, the faces of the 4 people were covered with leaves. Lu Renkuang's face was so covered that only his eyeballs could be seen. Han Fei coughed. You. What are you doing? They turned around and were surprised to see Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. They immediately stood up. Zhang Xuanyu hurriedly greeted them. Fei, you're back? How was your experience this time? With that said, Zhang Xuanyu looked up and down at Han Fei and the others, looking a little surprised. At the same table, Karen and the other girl blushed. But we should go back. It's time to cultivate. With that, the 2 girls swished past Han Fei and slipped away in the blink of an eye. Zhang Xuanyu asked with a smile, Not bad. You've all become dangling fishers? Yes, it is. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan have also become great fishing masters. It seems that the overall strength of our Thug Academy has risen to a higher level. Lu Renkuang snorted and picked the leaves off his face. You're finally back. I don't want to play cards anymore. Xia Xiaochan asked, Who are the 2 girls just now? Zhang Xuanyu waved his hand quickly. Card partners, Han Fei said to him via voice transmission, Card partners? Don't tell me the other one is also yours. Zhang Xuanyu immediately responded, Nonsense, am I the kind of person who has a foot in 2 boats? I passed through the school of fish and didn't touch a single scale. We're just pure mahjong buddies. Han Fei ignored Zhang Xuanyu with a black face and looked at Lu Renkuang. Have you all made breakthroughs too? Why are you all playing cards here? Lu Renkuang muttered, we were waiting for you to come back. We made breakthroughs 3 days ago. Yesterday, when we just stabilized our realm, we were dragged here by this bastard to play cards. Zhang Xuanyu hugged Lu Renkuang and said, this is called relaxation. You can't just do whatever you want in life. If you cultivate, you'll become stupid. Han Fei turned around. You guys continue playing cards, I'm going back. Xia Xiaochan glared at Zhang Xuanyu. As lazy as he was, he became a dangling fisher earlier than her. She really didn't know what to say. Lu Renkuang shouted behind him, hey, I'm coming. Han Fei, do you have any fresh seafood? Tonight I'll give you a hand. Let's make a good meal. That night, at the dining table, everyone gathered together. Wenren Yu was looking at Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan and couldn't help but ask, Chu Jinan, is your physique strong enough? Chu Jinan responded respectfully, Master, senior brother Han Fei said it's barely enough. Han Fei raised his head. Almost there. I'm stronger than ordinary peak-level fishing masters, but still far from those who specialize in physique. Xiao Zhan grunted. The Forbidden South's foundation is too weak. We can only catch up slowly. As long as he practiced hard in the realm of a great fishing master, it wouldn't be a problem in the later stage. But the 5 of you, when are you going to the level 3 fishery? The level 3 fishery? Han Fei blinked his eyes. Master, can you help me repair my boat? My fishing boat was smashed last time. It feels like it's about to fall apart. At this time, Old Bai sneered. Go to the Linglong Tower to buy it yourself. Your fish dragons have made so much money. Do you want to keep it? Han Fei shrugged slightly. What good things can the Linglong Tower have? Lu Renkuang asked, President, we are in the level 3 fishery? Do we have to stay in the level 3 fishery for a whole year? Will we have a vacation during this period? Pooh, Old Bai almost choked and said angrily, What the fuck? You're not allowed to come back for a year. Han Fei asked, President, what about the rules of the level 3 fishery? What's the rule of the level 3 fishery? Can you tell me more about it? Old Bai sneered. Ask Xiao Zhan about the specific rules. San the level 3 fishery was a good place to practice. When you get there, there will be no teachers following you. If you can survive, you can basically graduate. But if you can't survive, humph? Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The first 3 brocade sachets were very difficult, one more difficult than the other. This time, although it was said that they were going to farm for a year, they were actually given a year to settle down. Although they had just become dangling fishers, they had reached the peak of their current stage in terms of combat power, temperament, and personal potential. And the key point of the 4th brocade sachet was the so-called level 3 fishery. The level 3 fishery was a nightmare for ordinary great fishing masters. The level 3 fishery was very complicated. At first, they thought that the level 2 fishery was very simple. At first, they thought that the level 2 fishery was very easy and they could easily traverse it. However, when they went there, they found that danger was everywhere. Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan listened silently and couldn't get a word in. However, they were secretly alarmed. Since entering the academy, they found that the higher they went, the more difficult it was to improve their strength. The stronger they were, the more difficult it was to improve their strength. Whether it was combat skills or fighting techniques, the difficulty was increasing. The difficulty level was increasing, and the demand for spiritual energy was also increasing. The two looked at each other, quite shocked. Now, they could only fight some common or rare creatures in the level 2 fishery, and they had to fight together. But what about Han Fei and the others? They just came a year earlier than him, and now they were going to explore the level 3 fishery. The level 3 fishery. This progress was a bit fast. At night, Han Fei didn't go to Lu Renkuang and the others to discuss the level 3 fishery. He didn't go to the level 3 fishery with them. What he needed now was the 4th level of the true spirit fishing art. He didn't find it in the library, so now he had to ask the principal for it. However, when he was still some distance away from the library, Han Fei saw Old Bai, Xiao Zhan, and Wenren Yu enter the library together. Why would the 3 of them go together? Han Fei was a little surprised. Usually, Old Bai slept in the library, and Xiao Zhan slept in his cottage on the hill. As for Wenren, he usually didn't see her, which was very rare. It's already late at night. These three are still holding a party? Do they have any secrets? Immediately, Han Fei set up a breath-concealing array on himself. This was the first time he used the breath-concealing array. No matter whether it worked or not, he would be thrown out if he was seen through. Besides, who would use spiritual perception at home? Han Fei followed her quietly and hid in a corner of the library stealthily. A voice came from the library. Xiao Zhan asked, "Old Bai, those boys are going to the level 3 fishery." "The level 3 fishery, shall we give them the map or not?" Wenren immediately refused. "No, we can't give it to them. The level 3 fishery is different from the level 2 fishery. It has a territory of hundreds of thousands of kilometers and there are no less than 1,000 dangerous places. Even if not all of them are marked on the map of our academy, they are not far from it. Should we give them the map and let them go? There's no one watching them. What if they really risk their lives and go on a journey?" Xiao Zhan disagreed. "But life and death are predestined. On the path of cultivation, who doesn't rely on opportunities to get ahead? Didn't we go through the same thing? How could we have the strength we have today if we hadn't been through so many dangerous places?" Wenren retorted, "But some of the dangerous places on this map are not for them to set foot in at all. Knowing that they can't do it, they are stupid. Hey, don't you know that they, including Luo Xiaobai, are all very stupid? When they are hot-headed, they just rush into the dangerous places." Han Fei murmured, "Who is stupid? Who is stupid? Ms. Wenren, you have to be reasonable." But Old Bai interrupted, "What are you arguing about? The level 3 fishery was treacherous. All the geniuses of the 36 towns and even the people of the 1,000-star city went there to train, and there were countless dangling fishers. Don't give them the sea map. Let them fight with the heavenly talents in other towns first. Besides, there are so many dangerous places and they can run into several of them. Do you really think they won't run into them?" In the dark, Han Fei swallowed hard when he heard that. Ren Tianfei had also left a map for him. However, the terrain on that map was very complicated, and he only marked the place where he hid his treasures. As for other places, there was no mark at all. If he could get the map in Old Bai's hand, wouldn't it be easy to find the place where Ren Tianfei hid his treasures? Thinking of this, Han Fei was ecstatic. No matter what, he had to get this map. Han Fei thought to himself, "I don't care how many dangerous places there are. For me, one of the greatest treasures is the treasures left by Ren Tianfei. Think about it. Out of thousands of dangerous places, one of them belongs to you alone." This feeling was so wonderful that he could wake up laughing when he fell asleep. Han Fei immediately released Little Black and Little White. "Little Black, look carefully where the map is. You must look carefully." At this moment, Xiao Zhan and Wenren had received instructions from Old Bai and decided not to give Han Fei the map, so they also left. From beginning to end, the three of them didn't seem to notice Han Fei, which made Han Fei feel a little proud. It seemed that his array had improved a lot. It was a success. After a while, Old Bai also suddenly left. Han Fei's eyes lit up. Han Fei didn't dare to neglect it. He immediately went to steal the map. Little did he know, on a big tree 1,000 meters away, Old Bai and the other two were standing facing the library. Xiao Zhan asked, "Old Bai, did you hide it well? Don't let this kid go missing." Wenren said, "Han Fei shouldn't be so stupid. If he can't even find a map, how can we expect him to explore the level 3 fishery?" "The level 3 fishery?" Old Bai sneered. "That kid is very cunning, but his breath-concealing array is really lousy. It's not as smart as his spirit-gathering array." After a while, Han Fei came out with a map and kissed it. What would he do if he found out that he had been fooled one day? Chapter 295. That night, Han Fei sneaked out and made several copies of the map. With the map in hand, the world was mine. At that moment, Han Fei felt that the whole world would be his. The next morning, Han Fei ran to the library. "President, get up, President." "Soul calling?" Old Bai came out of the library angrily and said with a black face, "Why are you shouting here instead of making breakfast early in the morning?" Han Fei chuckled. "President, you have the 4th level of the true spirit fishing art. Is it illegal?" Old Bai said angrily, "Are you really going to practice the true spirit fishing art from scratch? We don't have much time. I'm most familiar with it. If I don't repair it, what should I repair?" Old Bai took a deep look at Han Fei and returned to the library. After a while, he came out with 2 books and threw them to Han Fei. Old Bai said with mixed feelings, "Although the true spirit fishing art is a very common skill, but all the angling gong. But it's all based on this set of rules." The law was recompiled. These were the 4th and 5th layers. "Fit ticket? President, what about the 6th floor? Where's the 5th? Old Bai said lightly, "I knew you would ask." The 6th floor was not common, because it was not meant for ordinary people to have fun cultivating. Of course, some people like to collect unique copies. You may be able to find them in the 1,000-star city. As he spoke, Old Bai looked at Han Fei. "However, I have to tell you that even the 1,000-star city doesn't have the part above the 7th level of the true spirit fishing art. So, change your gong as soon as possible. There's still time." Han Fei raised his eyebrows. It seemed that the higher the level, the more unusual the true spirit fishing art was. It was broken at the 6th level. Han Fei pondered for a moment. The deduction of the 4th level required 10 million points of spiritual energy. Wouldn't the 5th level require 100 million points? The 6th floor? Damn it. By the time he reached the 6th level, he would already be invincible in the 1,000-star city. Han Fei said with a smile, "It's okay. I'll change the gongs when the time comes. It's from Fei." Han Fei left happily. While walking, he read the true spirit fishing art. A moment later, the 4th layer appeared in his mind. Existing gong, true spirit fishing art. Han Fei felt a headache. Sure enough, this was the 5th floor's gongzi. Just the deduction of FA required 100 million points of spiritual energy. How the hell could I find so much spiritual energy in the sky? Han Fei smiled bitterly. The spiritual spring in the fire cloud cave was enough, right? It added up to no more than 20 million points of spiritual energy. That was to say, he had to get 5 of those spiritual springs for one deduction. Just as Han Fei was lost in thought, Zhang Xuanyu appeared out of nowhere, put his arm around Han Fei's shoulder and said, "Fei, let me tell you I got a treasure." Han Fei said uninterestedly, "What treasure can there be in the town?" "Good treasures, they are all in the sea." Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. "Are you stupid? We are going to the level 3 fishery. Don't you want to get a map of the level 3 fishery? A topographic map of the level 3 fishery? I spent 2,000 mid-quality pearls to buy it from him. There are hundreds of dangerous places marked on the map. Am I awesome?" Han Fei's eyelids twitched and he looked at Zhang Xuanyu in astonishment. "Damn it, should I tell you now? There are only 100 dangerous places on your map. There are thousands of dangerous places on my map. Am I bragging?" Han Fei thought to himself, "I'd better not tell this guy." Before he left, he would take out the map and make sure that his iron-headed fish eyes were blinded by it. Not far away, Xia Xiaochan and the others had already prepared their luggage. However, Han Fei's eyelids shivered when he saw them. Next to Lurenquang, there was a 3-meter-sized pot. There were also all kinds of low-level spiritual fruits and seasonings, which filled the pot. Han Fei was lost for words. "Are you going for an adventure or a vacation?" Lurenquang chuckled. "We'll be gone for a year. Of course I'll bring more. It's a pity that the space in my sea-swallowing seashell is not big enough, or I would have brought more." Han Fei was speechless. "Do you think I'll believe you? You talk as if you have a sea-swallowing seashell. Luckily, I got a bigger sea-swallowing seashell from Sun Yi. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered with you." However, before Han Fei complained, he heard Xiao Zhan scolding from far away, "Lurenquang, are you on vacation? Why don't you eat yourself to death?" Lurenquang scratched his head and said pitifully, "Not much. I guess it's only enough for a month. I have to eat sparingly. Otherwise, it'll be hard for me." Xiao Zhan was amused. Who told you that the teleportation array would teleport you to a place? Everyone was stunned. What did he mean? So, like the adventure in the fiery mountain, the teleportation array would teleport them to different places. Xiao Zhan said, the level 3 fishery is a dangerous place. If teleportation could really be done in a fixed direction, would I have waited until now to go? If teleportation could really be done in a fixed direction, I would have organized 1,000 people to go to the level 3 fishery. If they could really teleport, they could organize thousands of people to go through the SN. Will there be opportunities for you to fight for? Lu Renkuang exclaimed. Huh? Then we won't be together? Xiao Zhan was speechless. Of course not. Xiao Zhan was speechless. Nonsense, of course not. The level 3 fishery is a life and death experience for everyone. If teleportation could really be done in a fixed direction, do you think Ms. Wenren and I wouldn't go with you? Han Fei was also dumbfounded. It would be dangerous if they teleported separately. He admitted that he was not weak, but when the 5 professions cooperated, their comprehensive ability was perfect. After all, everyone had their own specialties. It was easier for them to cooperate. Wenren Yu also appeared. Looking at the hot pot ingredients on the ground, she couldn't help but shake her head. I forgot to tell you. Although the level 3 fishery covers a territory of hundreds of thousands of kilometers, a lot of people from the 36 towns go there. Countless people are even resident in the level 3 fishery. It's not uncommon for people to kill each other for treasures in the level 3 fishery. Xiao Zhan then said, apart from other adventurers and adventurers, the level 3 fishery is much more dangerous than the level 2 fishery. There, you have to deal with things on the water and underwater. Who will give you a chance to cook? Xiao Zhan paused. Besides, the level 3 fishery is much more dangerous than the level 2 fishery. There, you have to deal with things on the water and under the water. Who will give you a chance to cook? Xiao Zhan paused. Besides, the level 3 fishery is also open to the 1,000-star city. Anyone below the hanging fisher level can enter. So, Han Fei, since you killed Sun Yi, people from the 1,000-star city will definitely hunt you this time. Lu Renkuang was shocked. Then what should we do? Those people are very strong. Xiao Zhan snorted. What are you afraid of? The level 3 fishery is so big. Do you think you can meet him just because you want to? Han Fei didn't think much of it. As long as it wasn't the kind of guy who could kill him with a single slap. A dangling fisher? I'm also a dangling fisher now. Just because I can't beat him doesn't mean I can't run away. Luo Xiaobai asked, Master, how can we meet? Wenren Yu shook her head. There's almost no way to meet unless we're extremely lucky. Of course, you may meet on the dragon boat. Maybe. Dragon boat? Seeing the confusion on everyone's faces, Wenren Yu shook her head. We didn't ask you to leave today. We have a class today. This class is dedicated to explaining to you about the SAN. The level 3 fishery needs to keep in mind. Xia Xiaochan said slowly, I knew it wouldn't be so simple. Kuang, you picked your spirit fruit for nothing. Lu Renkuang said bitterly, it's so hard for me. Han Fei asked curiously, Master, what is a dragon boat? Xiao Zhan paced in front of them and said, Today, I want to tell you a few things that are related to life and death. Therefore, you must imprint it into my mind. First of all, that's San. The only safe zone in the level 3 fishery, we call it the dragon boat. The dragon boat is thousands of meters wide and tens of thousands of meters long. The dragon boat is San, the safe zone of the level 3 fishery. There, killing is forbidden. Adventurers and adventurers can trade with each other, rest, and even hire people. Everyone was shocked. Han Fei exclaimed, thousands of meters wide and tens of thousands of meters long? Master, don't brag. Xiao Zhan snorted coldly. Do you think I'm bragging? Han Fei swallowed. How fucking big is this ship? Isn't this a spaceship? Our fishing boats are all measured by meters. Oh my god, this dragon boat is calculated by kilometers. Xia Xiaochan counted her fingers. More than 3,000 meters wide and 30,000 meters long. How big is the ship? Xiao Zhan sneered. Big? For example, This dragon boat, in the SAN. There are as many as 100 in the level 3 fishery. Lu Renquang was dumbfounded. So many? Wen Renyu smiled. Not many. Compared to the vast SAN. 100 dragon boats are nothing. In the future, if you want to go back to the Blue Sea Town, you will need to come back through the teleportation array on the dragon boat. Luo Xiaobai took a breath. Master, what about the dragon boat? Cell phone site. Chapter 296. Everyone was excited and ready to set off. But who would have thought that the difference between the level 3 fishery and the level 2 fishery was so big? Just the sight of the huge ship alone was enough to make everyone's hearts race. Wen Renyu said with a smile, the second point, in addition to the dragon boat, there is also a kind of ship in the level 3 fishery. There is another kind of boat in the level 3 fishery called the ghost boat. Ghost ship? Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed. The name didn't sound like a good word. Wen Renyu nodded. The so-called ghost ship is actually some ships that specialize in looting. Remember, no one you meet outside the dragon boat is a great fishing master. And most of the people who command the ghost ship are dangling fishers. They hide their fishing boats in their sea-swallowing seashells and launch a surprise attack when necessary. These people are extremely vicious and will do anything for treasure. You must be careful. If you encounter a ghost ship and can't escape, the right way is to abandon the boat. Luo Xiaobai asked, were these people hiding underwater at first? Wen Renyu shook her head. Both are possible. They may also be in the sky. Xiao Zhan added, by the way, there is one thing that I must remind you of. Most of the people on the ghost ship are hired by the dragon boat. So, when you meet on the dragon boat, unless it's necessary or you don't trust them, don't hire them rashly. Everyone nodded. According to Xiao Zhan and Wen Renyu, the dragon boat should be a place where crooks and honest people mingled. After boarding the boat, they should be careful. Xia Xiaochan asked, then what if you have a conflict with someone on the dragon boat? Xiao Zhan asserted, don't do anything. You can only take action after you leave the boat. Every dragon boat is guarded by a hanging fisher. Luo Xiaobai asked, a hanging fisher? Then what if a hanging fisher himself comes to make trouble? Xiao Zhan smiled and said, there are many people on the dragon boat. Once a hanging fisher makes a move, this person will definitely be found. Once it is found that a hanging fisher deliberately targets adventurers and adventurers, he will be in trouble, so generally hanging fishers won't make a move. But after leaving the dragon boat, what if a hanging fisher comes to make trouble? Xiao Zhan was speechless. Do you think hanging fishers have nothing to do all day? The situation you mentioned does not exist. The hanging fishers on the dragon boat are not allowed to leave the boat at will. Otherwise, they'll trigger the ban on the dragon boat and they'll all die. Han Fei breathed a sigh of relief. Better safe than sorry. After all, in the territory of a group of great fishing masters and dangling fishers, hanging fishers could be regarded as the strongest. If he really wanted to kill someone, it would be very difficult for ordinary people to escape. At this time, Old Bai walked over slowly and said to Xiao Zhan, don't worry about these things. Dragon boats and ghost boats, you've arrived at S3. The level 3 fishery would know. However, the most dangerous one was still San. The level 3 fishery itself. Wen Renyu nodded. Compared to dying in battle, for ordinary cultivators, the possibility of dying at the bottom of the sea is much higher. San, the level 3 fishery, is much more dangerous than the level 2 fishery. Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips and said, but no matter how many people die, there will always be more people rushing over. These are all fortuitous encounters. Old Bai smiled and said, of course. As cultivators, if we don't go when we encounter a place of treasure, how can we talk about achieving anything? Of course, that's what you say, but I'm not asking you to blindly throw your lives away. There are some special places where you know you will die, so don't go. Lu Renquang muttered, but we don't know which places we can't go. Old Bai scolded him with a smile. When you arrive, you will naturally know which places are fatal. With that, Old Bai stretched out his hand and drove them away. Let's go, you little rich people. This year, you have really made a lot of money, haven't you? Go buy a good fishing boat each. Don't be careless and it will sink. Luo Xiaobai said, President, but it's useless to only have fishing boats without sea-swallowing seashells. As if he had expected that someone would say this, Old Bai took a few times out of his pocket. As a result, he took out 3 sea-swallowing seashells. Zhang Xuanyu's eyes immediately lit up. President, you are so polite. How can I be so polite? Lu Renquang rubbed his hands. President, you are the best. Xia Shaochun wondered, why only 3? 4 of us don't have sea-swallowing seashells. Old Bai glanced at Han Fei. Didn't you kill a boy from the Sun family? Where are your sea-swallowing seashells? Han Fei blinked, feeling as if there were 10,000 ironhead fish rampaging in his heart. That's my trophy. How can you just take it? Don't you feel embarrassed? Xia Shaochun stretched out her hand. Then I want Han Fei's. Han Fei said helplessly, fine. You're too old to know how to exploit me. Having said that, Han Fei still took out his sea-swallowing seashells and threw them to Xia Shaochun, not taking it seriously. Old Bai sneered. I exploit you? Don't you have any idea what you've done? Han Fei panicked under the old man's gaze. Has the fact that I stole the map been exposed? Fuck, is this old man going to take it back? Old Bai ignored him and said, you already have sea-swallowing seashells and can afford fishing boats. What else do you need? Spiritual weapons? Lu Renquang rubbed his hands and said in joy, President, do you still want to give out spiritual weapons? Han Fei was also taken aback. Isn't this too generous? Although to him, spirit tools were not important. However, if Old Bai wanted to give out spiritual weapons, he would gladly give them up. Xia Xiaochun's eyes lit up. I want a dagger. Show. Old Bai scoffed. You're all dreaming. Those who don't have spiritual weapons, raise your hands. Immediately, all 5 of them raised their hands. However, Lu Renquang and the others all looked at Han Fei, asking, why did you raise your hands? Han Fei raised his head and said, I need one too. A Shu kicked at him and Han Fei was kicked away. Old Bai cursed, get the hell out of here. Then Old Bai frowned and asked, you didn't even get a spiritual weapon in the fiery mountain? Don't hide it. Do you need to hide a lousy weapon? Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. I didn't get one. In the Starfire Pavilion, I only got a magic rod. Zhang Xuanyu was also kicked and fell to the ground next to Han Fei, dumbfounded. Han Fei looked at him contemptuously. Mr. President, you're right. Do you think a lousy rod is worth hiding? Zhang Xuanyu trembled with anger. It's better than your shamelessness. You have a whole set of spiritual weapons and you shamelessly say that you don't have one. Old Bai asked, Lu Renquang, you didn't get a spiritual weapon? Lu Renquang's eyelids twitched. I still need a sword. Fuck off. Everyone. Lu Renquang ran to Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu and sat down next to them. Han Fei? Zhang Xuanyu? Luo Xiaobai said, I picked a seed. Xia Shaochun said, I picked a power that can increase my speed. Behind her, Han Fei and the others looked at each other in bewilderment. Han Fei asked, you can pick speed too? Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. There are seeds in the Starfire Pavilion? Are they going to be planted? Lu Renquang shrugged. How do I know? There are so many stars, but I just picked a knife. Old Bai and Xiao Zhan both looked at Wenrenyu. Wenrenyu snorted. You two come to me at night. With that, Wenrenyu threw a book to them and said, this is some common fish in the level 3 fishery. There are some common fishes in the level 3 fishery. Take them. The next day, the 5 of them were about to officially set off. Only Xiao Zhan, Wenrenyu, Chu Jinan, and Ling Yuan came to see them off. Xiao Zhan said, 1 year later, I will wait for you at the school gate. Wenrenyu threw a jade slip to each of the 5 of them and said, this is the method of self-explosion. The spiritual weapons in the level 3 fishery are worthless. If you encounter a life and death situation, self-explosion may save your life. Everyone was surprised. A method of self-explosion? Is there such a method? Wenrenyu said, I hope you won't need it. Good luck. Luo Xiaobai said solemnly, "Teacher, we're leaving." Han Fei said, "Teacher, bye. I'll bring you some specialties when I come back." After they left, Xiao Zhan said to Chu Jinan and Ling Yuan indifferently, "In the future, you will also embark on this path. But the premise is that you too also have to go to the level 2 fishery to gain experience. I'll give you half a year to prepare." Xiao Zhan went back. Chu Jinan scratched his head and said innocently, "Ling Yuan, I'm a little panicked." Ling Yuan patted Chu Jinan's shoulder heavily. "What are you panicking for? I'll protect you." On the way, they had just crossed the Iron Chain Bridge. Han Fei suddenly burst into laughter. "Come on, I have gifts for you." After a moment, Zhang Xuanyu roared at Han Fei. Zhang Xuanyu roared at Han Fei, "I spent 2,000 mid-quality pearls on the map for nothing. Han Fei, you shameless guy, why didn't you tell me until now? I even showed it off in front of you." Cell phone site. Chapter 297. Starting the adventure again. No. To be precise, for Han Fei and the others, this trip to the level 3 fishery should be regarded as an adventure. For some people, adventure was just adventure. For some people, adventure was just adventure. And the real strong would never be afraid of dangerous places. Ordinary fishermen were not afraid of life and death. The stronger they were, the more afraid they would be. Xia Xiaochan changed into a new pair of daggers. In fact, she didn't lack daggers. Han Fei had made 2 shovels for her. However, the hunter was a creature that ate by. Just like armorists ate swords, shields, and armor, they could never have too many. And Luo Xiaobai had the first weapon in her life, a long whip, a spiritual weapon. It was a spiritual weapon, which was a good starting point. But even if Luo Xiaobai didn't use a spiritual weapon, she was still very powerful. At this moment, the 5 of them stood in front of the Linglong Tower. Luo Xiaobai said, "As far as I know, the most expensive fishing boat in the Blue Sea Town costs 100,000 mid-quality pearls each. However, in terms of quality, it's not as good as your white fishing boat." Han Fei was taken aback. "Really? My boat is so valuable?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "It's not that your boat is valuable, but that your boat was made in the Thousand-Star City. The material alone is better, but it's also ordinary in the Thousand-Star City. However, such a fishing boat is rare in the Blue Sea Town, so it's expensive." Han Fei shrugged helplessly. "I just want to repair the boat." Suddenly, an idea flashed in Han Fei's mind. "Am I fucking stupid or what? Although the boat in my hand is not refined, can I refine one?" Han Fei's breathing suddenly became rapid. "If I find a lot of high-level materials and refine a spiritual-level fishing boat, wouldn't I be able to dominate the fishery without any restrictions?" Buying a fishing boat didn't take much time. After saving money for more than a year, they were all local tycoons now. Han Fei, on the other hand, spent 100,000 mid-quality pearls without batting an eyelid. In the northernmost part of the Blue Sea Town, this was an island that Han Fei and the others had never been to. Like the floating island where the Thug Academy was located, there were not many people coming and going on weekdays. However, no one who entered or exited this island was below the level of an advanced great fishing master. At the very center of the floating island was a huge building. The palace was magnificent, and it was surrounded by large pillars that were tens of meters tall. The pillars were engraved with seaweed relief carvings and fish and shrimp patterns. And in the building, there is always a smell. The guang seeped out. In front of the building, dozens of advanced great fishing masters were reduced to guards, each holding a spear and wearing armor, standing solemnly. Han Fei and the others were just about to go in when 2 guards crossed their spears and stopped them. The teleportation fee in the level 3 fishery is 5,000 mid-quality pearls per person. Everyone was stunned. So expensive? Just when they were still surprised that the fare was a little expensive, a familiar voice behind them said, "It's not expensive anymore. Sanin, the level 3 fishery, danger and opportunity coexist. The teleportation fee is just a symbolic screening condition." Everyone looked back and saw that Li Hani and a dozen people had also come. Lu Renkuang was furious. Lin Xingmu, how dare you show up in front of me? Lin Xingmu glanced at Lu Renkuang. We used to be enemies, but not anymore. San, the level 3 fishery has gathered many heavenly talents and adventurers from the 36 towns. You should have forgotten what happened before. We are now comrades. Lu Renkuang said angrily, comrades? I don't have such a sinister comrade like you. Xiang Zuozhuo curled her lips. Fatty, didn't you just get stripped and hung up for a beating? Is there a need to hold a grudge? Shut up. Lu Renkuang's face was dark. Looking at his angry face, Han Fei couldn't help but recall that battle. He wasn't there at that time and seemed to have missed a big show. Zhang Xuanyu said lazily, Yo. They've all become dangling fishers. Not bad. Xiang Zuozhuo snorted coldly, earlier than you guys. I heard that you guys only broke through in the past 2 days. Zhang Xuanyu didn't explain. Head to the left. If you are beaten to tears in the level 3 fishery, don't ask me for help. Scram. Luo Xiaobai said, it's a random teleportation. The probability of encountering it is very small. Han Fei nodded. Hopefully, we won't end up in level 3. Encountering it in the level 3 fishery. At that time, I don't know whether I should rob you or not. Li Hani said indifferently, you can also have a try. In fact, there was no such thing as peaceful coexistence and harmonious win-win situation among cultivators. Anyway, Han Fei absolutely didn't believe that this group of people in front of him would become his allies in the future. After paying the toll, they entered the building. They saw a huge empty space, and in the center, a blue spiral channel was twisting. The black and blue color looked extremely weird. Han Fei sighed. Is this the teleportation array? Luo Xiaobai said lightly, after entering, you will have to fight separately. Be careful. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. There is no safe place in the level 3 fishery. How can I be careful? Xia Shaochan said, just don't get yourself killed. I don't want to come back a year later only to find that you are gone. A year later? Next door, Li Hani and the others were stunned and looked at Han Fei and the others speechlessly. Li Hani was stunned. You are going to stay for a year? Xia Shaochan said proudly, what's wrong? You can't even stay for a year. What's the point of practicing? Everyone was speechless. The people of the 4th Academy are really crazy. Lin Xingmu said, good luck. I hope I can still see you in a year. Lu Renkuang scoffed. What do you mean? Are you cursing us? Lin Xingmu smiled faintly. I didn't mean that. At this time, a guard in front of the teleportation array shouted in a low voice, don't talk too much. After entering, remember to take out your fishing boat within 3 minutes. Everyone was shocked. Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei on the shoulder. See you inside. Luo Xiaobai said, remember, don't wander around. Lu Renkuang added, remember to come to the dragon boat to find me. Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. There are so many dragon boats. It's up to luck. Take care of yourselves. After saying goodbye to each other, Han Fei sighed in his heart. I'm going to start a treasure hunt alone again. However, he didn't think Xia Shaochan and the others would have a problem. Especially Xia Shaochan, even in the S and when the level 3 fishery broke out, no one could control it. Whoever was caught would be killed. When Han Fei stepped into the teleportation array, he was surrounded by darkness and his body seemed to be pulled by some kind of force. After 3 minutes, his vision suddenly became clear, and Han Fei saw the huge towering clouds and the boundless sea at a glance. However, as far as he could see, there was no fishing boat above the sea thousands of meters below him. Damn, why is it in the sky? Han Fei quickly took out the fishing boat and controlled it to descend slowly. When the fishing boat descended to a height of 100 meters, Han Fei finally saw the scene of the sea clearly. The vast surface of the sea was like a smooth mirror. Even if the sea was rolling with waves several meters high at any time, it didn't affect the flawless purity. On the sea, fish jumped out from time to time. At this moment, Han Fei saw thousands of golden yellow fish jumping on the water. When that kind of fish jumped, their bodies were in a semi-arc, like a crescent moon, which was very beautiful. At the moment they entered the water, They instantly straightened. Han Fei's face was full of a curious smile. Is this the crescent moon fish? Data flashed in his eyes. Crescent moon fish jumping like a crescent moon, faster than golden silkworms, spewing gunmetal knife chi to fight enemies, swallowing moonlight to hone bones, and bones can be used to refine weapons. Level 31 Ordinary 484 points. Long-term consumption can improve spiritual power. Moon bone. Han Fei was overjoyed. Finally, he saw new marine creatures. Sand. The level 3 fishery spanned hundreds of thousands of kilometers, and there were probably no less than 10,000 kinds of creatures. Treasures. Han Fei, am coming. Mobile phone site. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.